Chapter 672. In the fourth round, there was no room for choice. Chu Chu versus the Sacred Teacher. One was a sacred teacher of the demon race, while the other was equivalent to the imperial teacher of the empire. Do you have anything to say? Chu Chu asked. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. No, we've already used the refreshing breeze intoxication. Our people have also taken the antidote. Although we don't know if the refreshing breeze intoxication is effective against a god realm master, we'll just treat it as if it's useful. Elder Chu, this saint sovereign is our greatest enemy. He's the one who controlled Little Shi's mind. If necessary, kill him. Then got it. Chu Chu floated forward, landing in the middle of the battlefield. He cupped his fists and smiled. The Empire's fire cauldron. Chu Chu requests the demon Saint Master's guidance. The Saint Master walked forward step by step, his palms filled with demonic energy. I've long heard that one of the twin paragons of the Empire, Chu Chu, is the strongest in the Empire. Today, let this old man experience it for himself. Please. Please. The Saint Master calmly stood in the same place. Suddenly, a demonic shadow came out of his body, screaming in the air, forming a domain of darkness, causing the ground to crack. Chu Chu also stood in the same place, not moving an inch. Wang, a fiery red cauldron martial spirit, appeared around his body. Flames soared to the sky. The fire cauldron's god realm domain collided with the Saint Master's domain. The demonic shadows kept on attacking, colliding with the fire cauldron, emitting mournful wails. The two god realm masters used their domains to attack each other, causing sand and pebbles to fly everywhere, as if two storms were fighting each other. Not long after, beads of sweat appeared on the Saint Sovereign's face. He had never imagined that Chu Chu would be this powerful. Under the constant assault of the 30 layers of the Law of Fire domain, the Saint Sovereign's 7 demons harmony was already showing signs of losing. If he continued to fight like this, it would not be as simple as losing. You, the Holy Master, looked at Chu Chu with a pale face as blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Chu Chu did not speak or move. He only continued to increase the power of the cauldron. In an instant, the firestorm surged forward, tearing through all of the Saint Master's defenses. He was swept away by the wave of fire like a fallen leaf. Chu Chu's figure flashed as he opened his palm. Flames erupted. This palm strike would definitely take the Saint Master's life. Heh! In the demon army, Yang Li and the other gods stood in the air with their weapons in their hands, watching as Chu Chu killed the Saint Sovereign. They didn't even have the intention to move. To Yang Li, the Saint Sovereign was nothing more than a tool. Now that the tool's purpose had been fulfilled, it didn't matter whether he lived or died. Why should he waste his energy to save an insignificant person? At this time, the Demon King's expression turned cold as he looked at Qianfeng. Qianfeng was no longer at his original position as he charged towards Chu Chu. With a wave of his sword, a scarlet-red sword chi shot out as he shouted, "The Saint Sovereign has been defeated. Sir Chu Chu, please show mercy." Chu Chu was stunned. Qianfeng's attack was not to be underestimated. With a wave of his palm, he bestowed this palm strike onto Qianfeng. Pooh! Qianfeng could no longer withstand the power of Chu Chu's palm strike. He spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying with his sword. However, his appearance had saved the Saint Sovereign's life. Qianfeng and the Saint Sovereign landed on the ground together. The demon race was shocked. No one expected that the Saint Sovereign and Qianfeng would be so weak in front of Chu Chu. Chu Chu stood majestically in the sky as he looked at Yang Li, Huang Yi, Pei Sun, and the others indifferently. These people were the real enemies. Good, very good. In the sky, Yang Li actually laughed and clapped his hands as he said, "I didn't expect the human realm to have so many geniuses. This is really unexpected. This plane actually has a hierarch who can condense a divine wall. This is really not simple. Chu Chu, you have given me a pleasant surprise. It is really not easy for a mortal to cultivate the heavenly Tao lattice." Chu Chu didn't say anything as he turned around and flew back to the human realm. The last battle was between Lin Muyu and Yang Li. "Your Highness, do you think you can defeat Yang Li?" Sidusan asked. "I don't know." Lin Muyu frowned and asked, Generalson, do you think our Qingfeng Drunken is effective? Definitely. Look, many of the demon race soldiers are already drowsy. It was true that many armored demons and high-level demons who were holding their shields in the distance had already fallen to the ground in disappointment. However, the white sand slope was windy, and the effect of refreshing breeze intoxication was obviously not as good as it was in the jungle. Besides, Yang Li, Peishuan, Wildness, and other gods didn't seem to care about it at all. The bodies of gods would also be much more resistant to poison. Thus, refreshing breeze intoxication might really be useless. Forget it. Lin Muyu said lightly, send a secret order for the rear to retreat. Wei Chou, take the heavenly book with you. Once you move, order the magic crystal cannon to blast the entire white sand slope. Yes, but your highness, what about you? I'm fine. Don't worry, Yang Li would not bear to kill me. Yes, Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and said to Qing Yu, go to the sky and don't come down without my order. Do you understand? Qing Yu flapped his wings and soared into the sky. Can we start now? Yang Li looked down at Lin Muyu and slowly walked down from the sky. With every step he took, a layer of frost formed in the air to withstand his combat boots. The divine power of the Divine King continued to spread in all directions, causing the temperature to drop a lot. Lin Muyu raised her hand and pulled out her stellar sword. She then pulled off Wang Ju's golden cloak and threw it to Sidu Shui, who was standing beside her. She then leapt forward to meet Yang Li. The two of them did not choose to fight on the ground, but in the air. Die! Yang Li roared and slashed down with his sword that contained the power of heaven and earth. Even the domain that the blade passed through was immediately frozen. It was as if the entire plane was going to be frozen because of his power. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Dark clouds covered the sky, and in the blink of an eye, it was snowing heavily. This was the divine power of the 20th paradise, summoning wind and rain. A real god could control the weather. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth and the flames around her rose. A dazzling ice crystal bloomed in her palm. Her two martial souls instantly fused into the 7 luminaries' celestial sword and surrounded the star's sword. The celestial dragon crystal enveloped the sword and shot towards Yang Li's attack at lightning speed. Bang! The power reverberated in the sky like thunder. The power of the attack stunned Yang Li. In less than half a month, Lin Muyu, who only had 10 waves, had actually cultivated to 15 waves. What kind of advancement speed was this? At the thought of this, the greed in Yang Li's eyes became even more intense. It must be the supreme godhead that could allow a mortal to advance so quickly. In that case, this kid must be killed. However, he couldn't easily kill him, as that would damage the power of the godhead. He had to extract the godhead while he was still alive. Although it would be very painful, the godhead would be quite complete, and its power wouldn't leak out. In any case, he wouldn't be the one who was in pain. Yang Li suddenly opened his 5 fingers and activated his frost divine power. Suddenly, frost swirled around Lin Muyu and formed a huge cage in the blink of an eye. Have a taste of my frost cage. Lin Muyu, who was imprisoned in the frost cage, felt a bone-chilling cold enveloping her body. The surface of her skin was quickly covered with frost. How could this be? She would soon be frozen to death. She quickly raised her chi and the supreme godhead surged. It turned into raging flames and attacked the surroundings. The law of fire was one of the laws that Lin Muyu was familiar with. With the raging flames in her hands, she swung her sword and launched the attack of 5 mountains descending from the sky. Bang! A large hole was blasted open at the bottom of the cage. But just as Lin Muyu escaped from the cage, a rope of frost wrapped around his body as if it had a mind of its own. It was Yang Li's move again. This godly king really had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. God-binding chains. Lin Muyu bellowed and the 7 luminaries' immortal sword's god-binding chains came out. The immortal sword disintegrated and the god-binding chains turned into sharp knives that slashed fiercely. In the blink of an eye, Yang Li's ice rope was completely shredded. But just as he was freed, another wave of cold divine power came. This time, it was Yang Li's all-out attack. Lin Muyu had no time to dodge and could only use the Dragon Blood Battle Shield to block. Bang! Under the impact of 57 waves of divine power, the Dragon Blood Battle Shield shattered. A crushing force descended from the sky and blasted Lin Muyu away like a cannonball. Dust flew everywhere. The divine power domain protected his body as he smashed into the white sand slope. Lin Muyu was in the middle of it. He vomited a mouthful of blood. The difference in strength was too great. Can you surrender now? Yang Li descended from the sky and lightly stepped on the ground with his battle boots. Numerous ropes of frost extended from the ground and tightly bound Lin Muyu. His palm turned into a sharp blade and stabbed into Lin Muyu's chest. However, it was not the side of his heart. It was as if he wanted to keep Lin Muyu alive. He laughed sinisterly and said, "It's too much of a waste to leave the Supreme Godhead on a piece of trash like you. Just leave it to me." Ah! Lin Muyu vomited a mouthful of blood and screamed miserably. Looking up, Yang Li opened his palm and a golden suction force suddenly wrapped around the Supreme Godhead in Lin Muyu's head and slowly dragged it out. Instantly, the intense pain caused Lin Muyu's handsome face to contort and he screamed miserably. "You!" Chu Yao unsheathed her sword and was about to step forward. "Yao, don't!" Chu Chu raised his hand to stop Chu Yao and said, "You will die if you go. Moreover, do you think that you will be defeated by Yang Li so easily? He is only doing this because he has other intentions." "Other intentions?" Chu Yao looked at Lin Muyu's pained expression and said, "You is about to die in Yang Li's hands. Are we just going to watch it happen?" Suddenly, a chirping sound could be heard from the sky. It was Qing Yu. After seeing Lin Muyu's pitiful state, Qing Yu attacked immediately. He descended from the sky and pecked at Yang Li's head in a frenzy. "You irritating feathered beast!" Yang Li suddenly roared and icicles shot towards the sky. In the blink of an eye, Qing Yu's body was pierced through and he fell to the ground in a mess. Lin Muyu looked in Qing Yu's direction and suddenly felt a pain from the depths of his soul. What happened to me? Looks like Lin Muyu won't be able to escape this calamity. Qian Feng held his injured chest and said calmly. The sage sovereign narrowed his eyes and said, "Shao Shi, once Yang Li obtains the Supreme Godhead, you must attack immediately. Do you understand?" However, flames suddenly rose from the side and Tang Xiaoxi revealed her nine-tailed form. She knelt on the ground and a terrifying divine power surged to form a fiery force field that pushed the demon emperor and the sage sovereign away. When Tang Xiaoxi raised her head, 2 streaks of golden tears flowed down her cheeks and her eyes were filled with killing intent. She spat out a voice that seemed to come from purgatory, "Bastard, I won't allow you to kill him." Chapter 673. Boom! Flames filled with the demonic power of the nine-tailed demon soared into the sky. Looking at Lin Muyu's miserable condition, Tang Xiaoxi's Yi released a golden light that engulfed her body and drove away the Saint Master's mind-manipulating spell. "Tang Xiaoxi, what are you doing?" The Demon King yelled. "Have you forgotten who you are? Get lost." Tang Xiaoxi raised her left hand, and a blood-red nine-tailed claw tore through the air, sending the Devil Emperor flying away like a broken kite. A group of armor demons roared and brandished their weapons, but Tang Xiaoxi didn't want to get entangled with them. Her body was wrapped in a ball of raging flames, and she charged toward the center of the battlefield like a bolt of lightning. She silently stabbed her claw into the back of God King Yang Li, who was concentrating on seizing the Supreme Being lattice. Puff! Golden blood splattered and 3 sharp claws pierced through Yang Li's chest. He could not help but whimper and turn to look at Tang Xiaoxi. "But why?" Lin Muyu took the opportunity to put the divine spark back into her Yi. Her body was covered in starlight and her right palm was filled with the power of moonlight. She shouted, "Shao Shi, get out of the way." Tang Xiaoxi understood tacitly and pulled out her sharp claws. In a flash, she appeared behind Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu's right palm was actually holding a bright moon energy as she slammed it onto Yang Li's chest. "I have the divine wall. You useless ultimate god want to kill me?" Yang Li roared and gathered almost all of his divine power on the divine wall around him. Immediately, A sparkling and translucent golden light wall appeared in front of his chest. Lin Muyu attacked without saying a word. It was the seventh style of the star technique that she had painstakingly cultivated in the pool, Falling Moon River. It refined the moonlight for her own use and attacked the opponent with the all-pervasive power of moonlight. Moreover, the specialty of Falling Moon River was to cut the opponent's meridians. As the name suggested, it could cut the opponent's meridians and make them lose the ability to breathe for a short period of time. Bang! The palm strike landed on the godwall. Yang Li's godwall was originally strong enough to block Flowing River Falling Moon. However, after being ambushed by Tang Xiaoxi, the godwall was already flawed. How could it block Lin Muyu's full power strike? Her palm pierced through the god wall and sent Flowing River Falling Moon's profound energy into Yang Li's mouth. Instantly, Yang Li gave a muffled groan and flew backwards with blood spurting out of his mouth. All the meridians in his chest had been severed and he couldn't summon any strength in his limbs. If he wanted to use his divine energy to recover, he would need at least half a month. Xiaoxi, are you awake? In the raging flames, Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi. Yeah, I'm awake. I'm sorry. Tang Xiaoxi mumbled. Kill the Holy Master, or else he will control you again. In the air, Pei Sun, Huang Yi, and the others all took out their weapons. Huang Yi also raised his battle axe and smashed down, shouting, Quickly save Sir Divine King, kill them all, the martial arts competition is over. Who dares to attack? Chu Chu's figure flashed, and the fire cauldron suddenly shot up into the sky, blocking Huang Yi, Pei Sun, and the others in the north like a heavenly wall. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu took the opportunity to attack. After killing 2 armor demons with a sweep of her sword, she suddenly opened her palm, and many gourd vines broke out of the ground, just in time to bind the injured Holy Master's legs. Lin Muyu, what are you doing? Qian Feng roared hoarsely from dozens of meters away. He had found that the situation was completely out of the control of the demon clan. Tang Xiaoxi had always been a big variable, and now that Tang Xiaoxi had unexpectedly broken through the control of the Holy Master, it meant that the demon clan's operation this time had completely failed. The Holy Master's legs were bound, and he roared and used his guru devil force to break the gourd vines one by one, but it was too slow. He looked up and saw Lin Muyu shooting over under the light of the sun like a sharp arrow. 7 Devils Combination. The devil shadow flew out, and the Holy Master raised his arms and used his strongest martial art. He could only rely on the 7 Devils Combination to block Lin Muyu's attack. Otherwise, the Holy Master could also imagine his own fate. Clang. The stellar sword's bright light pierced through the light wall formed by the 7 Devils Combination, and energy splashed out. The Holy Master's mouth was wide open, and he looked at Lin Muyu in horror. It's over, everything is over. Pooh. The sharp blade pierced into the Holy Master's mouth without hesitation, and came out through his brain. A blood-red mortal lattice flew out, and the Holy Master's body was kicked away by Lin Muyu. Holy Master! Qian Feng lost his voice and roared. He knew what the Holy Master meant to the devil race, and he was like a central brain. But now, the Holy Master actually died under the sword of Lin Muyu. When Qian Feng flew over and wanted to hug the Holy Master's body, the hidden force hidden in Lin Muyu's kick suddenly exploded, and with a pung sound, the Holy Master's body turned into a cloud of blood mist. Qian Feng stood in the wind covered in blood, and his expression was dispirited. How could this be? How could this be? In the sky, raging flames rose, and Zhou Shi and Chang Fan, the 2 upper world gods who had the law of fire, descended from the sky. They punched and punched at Lin Muyu with godly power. Lin Muyu's eyes were already red from killing, and she didn't care so much. Her 7 luminaries' celestial sword wrapped around her body, and she flew forward. Her left palm deflected the force, and her body spun rapidly in the sky. The stellar sword carried the wave of the 15th layer paradise and struck Zhou Shi's back. Pooh! Golden blood splattered everywhere. Zhou Shi didn't have the protection of the divine wall, and he was seriously injured in the blink of an eye. However, Lin Muyu's shoulder had also received Chang Fan's palm that was filled with raging flames. Pang! A total of 21 waves reverberated on her shoulder, and Lin Muyu felt a sweetness in her throat as she spat out a mouthful of blood. None of the people from the Northern Heaven realm were weak, and they were indeed very strong. In the distance, Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi were already fighting with Pei Sun, Lu Jin, Zhu He, and Huang Yi. The demon emperor had already escaped, and Ouyang Yen had miraculously appeared in the north, blocking God King Yang Li's path of retreat. Why, do you still want to leave? The beautiful smile on Ouyang Yan's face actually became especially sinister. Yang Li's face turned cold. Ouyang Yan, you want to kill me? So what if I kill you? Do you know what the consequences of killing me are? Yang Li said coldly. This means that you will become the enemy of the entire Northern Heaven realm. Ouyang Yan, you are merely a trash god from the East Heaven. Do you dare to offend the entire Northern Heaven realm? Ouyang Yan laughed. In terms of bullying the weak and intimidating the weak, your Northern Heaven realm is indeed unique. Unfortunately, I am now following Lin Muyu, the future supreme god. Hee, I am standing on the right side. Your Frost Divine Lattice is a cast Immortal lattice. How can I let it go so easily? You're courting death. Yang Li roared, and once again took out his ice sword. Ouyang Yen waved her hands, and raging flames rose to the sky. One ice and one fire battle, but it wasn't fair. Yang Li was directly hit by Lin Muyu's falling moon profound energy, and his meridians were severed. He couldn't recover in a short period of time, and the power he could muster was no more than 10%. Ouyang Yen, on the other hand, maintained almost 100% of her battle power, so it wasn't fair at all. Once the flames passed, Yang Li's Su Ran was burnt black. He couldn't even condense his divine wall, so how could he be Ouyang Yan's opponent? Didn't you want the sovereign lattice? Ouyang Yen smiled extremely sweetly and said, do you know how painful it is to have your divine lattice forcibly extracted? I guess you don't know, but I, Ouyang Yen, am a kind-hearted person. Today, I will let you experience it. As she said that, Ouyang Yan's flame domain spread out, forcefully imprisoning Yang Li, the divine king, in place. She walked forward, pressed her left hand on Yang Li's head, and suddenly opened her right hand. An invisible suction force was activated, and just like that, Yang Li's cast Immortal lattice was slowly extracted from his Ihai. Yang Li's miserable howl was earth-shattering, but the 6 ultimate gods were already entangled, so how could they have the leisure to save him? More importantly, Yang Li's fate had come to an end. He was an outstanding figure among the divine kings, but that was only in the past. Now that Yang Li was seriously injured, he couldn't even defeat a ultimate god, so he had lost the value of loyalty. So, when a crystal-clear divine lattice with frost lingering on it appeared in Ouyang Yan's palm, Yang Li held his head and fell back, howling miserably. Ouyang Yen looked at him coldly and said, Lin Muyu has the sovereign lattice, and you want to take it for yourself. If this is the law of your Northern Heaven realm, then I will also do a good deed and give you a quick death. Flames spat out from her palm, and in the blink of an eye, it engulfed Yang Li's body. In the blink of an eye, this expert who was once a divine king was burnt black, and he no longer moved. At this moment, the sky thundered incessantly, as if the heavens were also angry. Yang Li's body seemed to have been eroded, turning into dust in the breeze, and seeping into the soil. Was this the scene of a divine king falling? Bang! Zhou Shi's palm collided with Lin Muyu's fist, and both of them retreated at the same time. Lin Muyu's expression was extremely ugly. She was already injured in the duel with Yang Li, and her sovereign lattice was almost taken away, so she could only muster up 60% of her strength. At this moment, she had to fight against Zhou Shi and Chang Fan alone. What was more hateful was that although Zhou Shi was injured, his palm still contained the god's wave of the 29 heavens, making Lin Muyu feel as if the meridians in her arm were about to be shattered. Protect His Highness! Susan, Wei Chou, and the others rushed over. Wei Chou's sharp arrows whizzed past, forcing Zhou Shi to retreat. However, Chang Fan still landed a heavy punch on Lin Muyu's dragon blood battle shield. Bang! Lin Muyu's figure flew backward, and she knelt heavily on the ground. She felt as if she could not muster up the strength in her body. There was a sweet taste in her throat, and she opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Moreover, the blood was faintly golden. This proved that her body was being tempered, and she was going through a process of being reborn, which was also the process of becoming a god. In the air, Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi had also forced their opponents to retreat, and they rushed over together. Moo! Tang Xiaoxi's breathing was rapid. There was a deep wound on her shoulder, and blood was flowing out. It was caused by Huang Yi's battle axe. She quickly held onto Lin Muyu's hand and asked anxiously, "Are you all right?" Lin Muyu's breathing was weak, and her yi was dim. She was about to faint at any time. She looked at Tang Xiaoxi and held her hand tightly and said, "Xiaoxi, come home with me." Tang Xiaoxi did not speak, but tears flowed out of her eyes, and she could not stop nodding. Wei Chou took out a dagger, which was the prototype of the heavenly book of the law of space. He said, "All right, let's go. The magic crystal cannon is about to be fired." A blue light shot into the sky, and the power of heaven and earth was drawn. The power of space around everyone began to swirl rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, the heavenly book had brought everyone 5 miles to the south. At the same time, the sound of the magic crystal cannon's bombardment could be heard. From afar, the white sand slope had become a sea of fire, and purple mushroom clouds rose into the sky. "Your Highness, our plan succeeded." Wei Chou's face was full of excitement, and he did not care about the ash stains on his face. Lin Muyu's mind was in chaos, and she fainted without saying a word. Chapter 674. Beneath the dilapidated walls of Sky-Piercing City, a small courtyard was filled with charred and shattered debris from the magic crystal cannons. Lin Muyu sat under a cluster of grapevines, sharpening a piece of wood with a long sword and stabbing it into the ground. The northern wind was biting cold, and snowflakes drifted down from the sky. He couldn't help but shiver. Today's work was to rebuild this grapevine frame. Sparse footsteps came from afar. When Lin Muyu pushed open the dilapidated wooden door, he saw a young girl holding a white oil paper umbrella walking over. It was Qin Yin. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief. "Xiao Yin. What, it's been 5 years. Big brother Yu doesn't recognize me anymore?" Qin Yin closed the umbrella, allowing the snowflakes to fall on her hair and the fox fur epaulets. "How did you?" Lin Muyu wanted to say something but stopped. The person he had missed for so many years had suddenly appeared, leaving him at a loss. Qin Yin burst into laughter. "Although I died once, but big brother Yu, don't forget, Xiao Yin is a god. A god is a supreme ruler who can see through the cycle of reincarnation. Big brother Yu, stay here and wait for me. Xiao Yin will naturally come to see you." As she spoke, Qin Yin tilted her head and looked at Lin Muyu's residence. She couldn't help but laugh. "Wow, Big brother Yu's residence is so sad. Does His Highness live in a place like this?" "Just temporarily." Lin Muyu rubbed his nose and explained awkwardly. "Temporarily?" Qin Yin walked into the courtyard, stepping on the shallow snow on the ground. "But Xiao Yin likes it here. It's quiet and peaceful. Although it's run down, it's nothing if I can be with Big brother Yu, right?" "Yes." Qin Yin walked up and gently held Lin Muyu's hand. "I missed you so much. Why didn't you come to find me?" she murmured. "I looked for it but I couldn't find it," Lin Muyu said honestly. "Is that so?" Qin Yin giggled and bent down to look at the place where Lin Muyu had been working. "Is this a grape trellis?" "Yeah." Lin Muyu also knelt on the ground and carefully swept away the snow with her palms to protect the tender roots of the grapevines. She said with some regret, "I don't know if it will survive. I hope it can bloom and sprout next year. That way, there will be grapes to eat in the hot summer." Qin Yin took a closer look and chuckled. "Yeah, he'll definitely survive." Lin Muyu simply sat on the ground and looked at the courtyard. She said, "Xiao Yin, look at this courtyard. It's so shabby. Not to mention a bed, it doesn't even have walls to block the wind. Do you really want to live here with me?" "Yes." Qin Yin smiled sweetly. "If there's no wall, we can rebuild it. As long as I'm with you, I'm willing to suffer any hardships." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu looked at her with a smile. Qin Yin gave a simple answer. She snuggled up to Lin Muyu and rested her beautiful face on Lin Muyu's knee. She said softly, "We've agreed that we must be together." Yeah. Lin Muyu's heart ached. Suddenly, tears flowed down her cheeks. The scene suddenly disappeared without a trace. Lin Muyu suddenly woke up from the dream. She exclaimed and sat up, only to find that she was sitting on the bed in the commander's tent in the Longdan army camp. The scene just now was just a dream. "Mu, are you okay?" Tang Xiaoxi was watching over her with red eyes. "I'm fine." Lin Muyu shook her head. At this time, Ouyang Yan, Chu Chu, Chu Yao and others came in. After everyone inquired about her health, Lin Muyu murmured, "I just dreamed of Xiao Yin. You must be missing her too much." "I haven't dreamed of her for a few months. I just dreamed of her." Lin Muyu was disappointed. Chu Chu could not help but turn his face away. He could not bear to see Lin Muyu's dejected look. At this moment, Chu Chu only felt a pang in his heart. The heavens had taken pity on Lin Muyu. The reason why Lin Muyu would dream of Qin Yin was because Qin Yin's reincarnation form, Qin Yu, was killed by Yang Li not long ago. The longing between the two seemed to be able to break the law of reincarnation. I'm sorry. Tang Xiaoxi sat by the bed, tears flowing down her face. She kept apologizing. She knew that she had killed Qin Yin with her own hands. If Qin Yin hadn't died, Lin Muyu wouldn't have become like this. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. Apologizing wouldn't bring Qin Yin back to life. "Alright, Xiaoxi." Chu Yao walked forward and gently held Tang Xiaoxi's hand. "You were only controlled by the sacred saint. It wasn't your fault. You don't have to blame yourself." "No, that's me." Tang Xiaoxi seemed to remember something. Her body twitched in pain, and tears fell like rain. She said in a trembling voice, "That's me being jealous. That's a crazy me. I'm a bad woman. I've killed so many people. Xiaoxi." Chu Chu's eyes turned cold. "Control your mind. You have to be strong. Do you know why Xiao Yin died? It was because your will wasn't strong enough. It was because you weren't strong enough at that time. If you don't want to repeat the same mistakes, don't be weak anymore." "I know." Tang Xiaoxi suddenly stood up and knelt by Lin Muyu's bedside. She held his hand and cried, "Mu, forgive me. Forgive me. If death can make up for my guilt, kill me and avenge Xiao Yin." Lin Muyu looked at her absent-mindedly. Suddenly she reached out and touched Tang Xiaoxi's face. She said softly, "Xiao Yin and I don't blame you. In the future, you and I will find Xiao Yin together, okay?" Tang Xiaoxi nodded her head repeatedly. She cried like a pear blossom in the rain. "Get up, Xiaoxi. Stop acting like this." Lin Muyu pulled Tang Xiaoxi back to her side. She looked up at the crowd and asked, "How is the demon race? Did you find anything on the white sand slope battlefield?" Wei Chou cupped his fists respectfully. "Your Highness, the magic crystal cannons had almost flattened the white sand slope battlefield. When we were cleaning up the battlefield, we found the corpses of Supreme God Zhou Shi, Chang Fan, and Lu Jin. However, their godheads had been taken away. In addition, dozens of demon race's high-ranking officers were killed by the cannons. Saint Master was killed by Your Highness. Qianfeng, Demon Emperor, Huang Yi, Pei Sun, and Zhu He were seriously injured and escaped. It can be considered a complete victory," Lin Muyu said with a faint smile. "Yes." Situ Sin laughed and said, "Your Highness, if you hadn't fainted, it would have been a complete victory." Lin Muyu glanced at him and continued, "Send some craftsmen to build a steel wall 2 miles away from the demon race's sky canopy, sealing the demon race inside the Heaven's Gorge. Once we've rested, we'll prepare to attack the Heaven's Gorge and annihilate the demon race." "Yes, Your Highness. I understand." Not far away, Ouyang Yan said with a smile, "Your Highness, I have a gift for you." "What gift?" "Take a look." Ouyang Yan took out a gemstone that was enshrouded in divine power from her interspatial bag. Frost slowly swirled around it. It was Yang Li's cast Immortal Godhead. When the Godhead was taken out, the temperature in the tent dropped by at least 10 degrees. Yang Li's godhead? That's right. Ouyang Yen said with a smile. This is a caste immortal godhead. Moreover, it's a very pure law of frost godhead. Unfortunately, it's not something I can use. I better cultivate my heavenly Tao godhead. I'll leave this caste immortal godhead to your highness. For me? Lin Muyu murmured, but it's useless to me. From their tone, my sovereign godhead is already the most powerful godhead in the 3 realms. Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao couldn't help but laugh. Can't you be humble? Chu Chu squinted his eyes and said with a smile, I think you should just accept this caste immortal lattice. Such a good thing isn't something that can be encountered in a day. Furthermore, we are in the Shattered Cauldron Plane. A caste immortal lattice can also trigger a war between gods. If you don't accept it, this caste immortal lattice might bring about a fatal disaster to Ouyang Yen. A fatal disaster? Ouyang Yan's beautiful face turned pale. She quickly handed the godhead to Lin Muyu and said with a smile, How is it, your highness? I'm very sensible, right? Lin Muyu was speechless. She casually threw Yang Li's caste immortal godhead into her cosmos sack. Actually, Yang Li was a god with a very bright future. Unfortunately, he ran to the Shattered Cauldron realm to fight for the sovereign godhead. In the end, he went for wool and came home shorn. Instead, he lost his caste immortal godhead here. Lin Muyu was a little nervous. She had a caste immortal godhead. Chu Chu calmly walked forward and said with a smile, do you remember the 4th style of the spiritual refinement art? Yes, it's the 1000 tempering 100 refinement art. That's right. 1000 tempering. Chu Chu smiled meaningfully. The so-called 1000 tempering is the tempering of one's godhead. The growth of a godhead is like a human. It needs to absorb many kinds of spiritual power and nutrients to grow. The best nutrients for the growth of a godhead are godheads. If you can refine Yang Li's caste immortal godhead and use it to temper your sovereign godhead, your cultivation will definitely improve greatly. As he spoke, Chu Chu sighed. The power of a sovereign godhead is very vigorous. The heavenly Tao godhead and the mortal godhead are not worthy of being the nutrients for a sovereign godhead. Yang Li's caste immortal godhead came at the right time. Lin Muyu, refining a godhead. This spiritual refinement art was indeed worthy of its name. On the white sand slope, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. A wisp of soul slowly rose from the white sand slope. It left the original body of Qin Yu and turned into the body of a beautiful girl. It was Qin Yin. She blankly looked at the mess around her. There were many demon corpses that were not buried. Moreover, there were traces of battle between Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, and Chu Chu. Yu Xiaoxi, Qin Yin thought of everything and couldn't help but feel sad. She murmured, Big brother, you still doesn't recognize Xiao Yin? At this time, the heavenly realm gates suddenly opened and 2 gods flew down. One was holding a pipa and the other a spear. They were Qin Ming and Yu Wu, the 2 giant gods who specialized in reincarnation. But when he saw the young girl's soul standing on the ground, Qin Ming couldn't help but tremble. Last time, he was beaten up to imprison her. This girl's spiritual power was too strong. You go. Qin Ming said, I will support you with my zither. Yu Wu stared at him and said, Why don't you go? At this time, Qin Yin raised her head and looked at the 2 giant gods in the sky. She slowly turned her palm and a few heaven dragon crystals shining with golden light condensed. She faintly asked, This time, where will I be reincarnated to? Yu Wu's body trembled. The ghost Tao. You will become a ghost until the end of your cultivation. Say that again. Qin Yin murmured. Yu Wu's face turned purple. It's the ghost Tao. Heroine, let me say this first, don't hit my face. Chapter 675. In the eastern region of the dragon-shaped island, tens of thousands of protruding reefs covered the sea like a stone forest, turning the entire eastern region of the dragon-shaped island into a secret area. No one had ever explored it, and none of those who had sailed to the east had ever returned. Early in the morning, the white fog of late autumn filled the sea. Less than 10 meters away, the sound of horse hooves could be heard. It was the Iha kingdom. Long Qianlin rode on a green-haired warhorse and wore a commander's armor. The 3 golden stars on his collar flickered in the fog. Behind him was a group of soldiers with bows and arrows on their backs and long swords in their hands. Beside him was a young man. It was none other than Qin Huan, the son of Qin Yi, the only heir of the Yihe kingdom. When will this fog disperse? Long Qianlin frowned. He could not see through the fog in front of him. Beside him, an adjutant cupped his fists and said, "General Long, the fog will disperse as soon as the wind blows. The wind on the East Sea is unpredictable. No one knows when the wind will blow and when it will calm down." Qin Huan said, "General Long, do you really want to explore the Eastern Sea region?" Long Qianlin nodded and looked tired. He said, "The dragon-shaped island is just an isolated island. It can't accommodate so many people of the Yihe kingdom. Your Highness, the eastern region of the dragon-shaped island is boundless. No one has ever conquered this sea region. No one knows what's on the other side of the sea. I suggest that we organize iron-armored warships to cross this sea region and look for a new habitat." But Qin Huan looked gloomy. He said, "We have mined nearly half of the iron mines on the dragon-shaped island. It's easy for General Long to build a fleet, but this fleet will consume nearly 30% of the Yihe kingdom's national strength. Does General Long know about this?" "I know." The corner of Long Qianlin's mouth curled up as he said with a smile, "But I also know that our merchant ships are still maintaining trade with the Middle-earth continent. Feng Jixing has not completely cut off the sea route between the Yihe kingdom and the empire. Moreover, I also know that the Marquis of Sunset Sun, the Marquis of Lingnan, the Marquis of Soaring Sky, and the other feudal vassals have not only brought their families to the dragon-shaped island, they have also brought a large amount of treasures, antiques, top-grade weapons, and embryos of the heavenly book. If they are willing to offer up these treasures, we can send hundreds of merchant ships to the port of the Soaring Sky province to trade for sufficient grains and ironware. We can also hire craftsmen to work for the Yihe kingdom on the dragon-shaped island." Qin Huan couldn't help taking a deep breath. "General Long, are you really planning to touch Marquis Xiang and the others? No eggs can survive a toppled nest." "I think the nobles should understand this simple principle. Once the dragon-shaped island runs out of food, we can only wait for death. Their glory, splendor, wealth, and rank will also come to an end." Long Qianlin placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and said indifferently, "We should be thankful that Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu didn't wipe us out and allowed the empire's sea border to open trade with us. Otherwise, I'm afraid the Yihe kingdom would have been wiped out on the dragon-shaped island a year ago. However, if we continue to sit back and eat, the Yihe kingdom will still be wiped out." Qin Huan frowned. "I understand, but General Long, you must never say things like the Yihe kingdom will be wiped out, especially in front of father. He's old and can't take any more blows." "Yes, this subordinate understands. Thank you for your reminder, Your Highness. Go back. This matter needs to be discussed with father and Marshal Ding Shi." While the Yihe kingdom was secretly planning, the reconstruction of Skyspan City in the Skyspan province was also in full swing. In just a few months, the city that had been destroyed by cannon fire had shown signs of life again. The city walls were erected, and the area was nearly twice as wide as before. The green city walls were cast with silver azure bronze, making the entire city appear much more luxurious. Within the city lord's mansion had already begun to take shape. The craftsmen were busy inside and out. This city lord's mansion was also known as King Qin's mansion. The rear courtyard had already been completed, and there were pavilions and terraces stretching for miles. It looked rather like a king's mansion. Bai Yin led a group of guards in silver armor through the rear courtyard of the king's mansion to ensure its safety. In a small courtyard, a few pomegranate trees swayed gently in the breeze. The huge pomegranates pressed their branches close to the ground, swaying in the breeze together with the branches. Under the trees, Lin Muyu, dressed in black, slowly opened her arms. In the open space in front of her, the refining cauldron flickered incessantly. A godhead wrapped in frost was buzzing and trembling in the treasured cauldron. Wisps of invisible divine power were being extracted from the godhead, and then slowly seeped into Lin Muyu's forehead and entered her EC. The EC was already a world of ice and snow. Yang Li's cast Immortal Lattice of the Law of Frost was extremely powerful. It was not easy for Lin Muyu to refine and eat this godhead. In the blink of an eye, her face was already covered in sweat, and the area around her arms was frozen into a layer of frost. Then, it melted under the surging flames of the sovereign lattice. This process repeated over and over again. Finally, when the EC was completely filled with the divine power of frost, Lin Muyu began to withdraw her power. She could only refine so much divine power at one time. This was the limit that Lin Muyu's EC could bear. However, the ice and snow energy in the entire EC only took up less than 1,000th of Yang Li's cast Immortal Lattice. It seemed that it would take at least a year to completely refine the power of this godhead. Hua! The light from the forging cauldron dissipated. Lin Muyu raised her hand and placed the godhead into the Jianghu pouch. She wiped the sweat off her forehead and felt that her EC was clear and the divine power in her body was even more vigorous. This was the benefit of the spirit refinement art. She could refine other people's power for her own use. Otherwise, even with Lin Muyu's innate talent, it would take her at least 100 years to reach the divine king realm by herself. Rustle, rustle. Amidst the fragmented sounds of footsteps, the graceful Tang Xiaoxi walked over with a plate of fruits in her hands. She smiled and said, "Mu, you must have lost a lot of water during the refinement. Come and eat some fruits." Lin Muyu sat down on a stone bench at the side. She picked up a pear and started to eat it. The flame energy and frost energy on her body intertwined and actually turned into steam that slowly rose up. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but laugh. "How is your cultivation of the spirit refinement art? How's the progress?" Yang Li's forged immortal godhead is really powerful. I can only refine my god force in one go. I can't rush it. Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, "Currently, the refinement progress is about 19%. It's still early." Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, "Almost 20%, not bad. Don't rush it, it will damage your body." "All right, since you have already refined 20% of Yang Li's god force, did it increase your cultivation?" Lin Muyu nodded heavily and flipped her palm. Immediately, a golden wave of divinity surged in her palm. The waves were like a tower that reached the sky, stacking on top of each other. There was a total of 19 layers. "Wow," Tang Xiaoxi beamed and said, "So powerful. You are already at the 19th heavenly abode realm. As long as you work hard, Mu will be able to step into the first heavenly abode realm." "Yes, Yang Li's godhead is not fake. All right, I have been cultivating in the afternoon. Has big sister Chu Yao returned from the spiritual medicine division?" "Yes, she is back. Didn't you see her?" Tang Xiaoxi beamed with joy. "Wei Chou went into the mountain yesterday to hunt a cloud deer and sent 2 legs. So, big sister Chu Yao has already washed her hands and went to cook. She said that she will let you have a good meal tonight. After all, cultivating consumes too much energy." "Where is Chu? If we cook the cloud deer meat, he will probably refuse to eat it again, yes?" Tang Xiaoxi smiled lightly. "Chu can communicate with all living beings. He has already decided not to eat meat. Forget it, let him eat corn on the cob." Who is talking bad about me?" In the wing room, Chu Chu walked in with his hands behind his back. He looked spirited and energetic. He looked at Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi with a smile. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Old Chu, Sister Chu Yao is going to show off her cooking skills tonight. She's going to cook a table full of delicious dishes. Are you really not going to eat meat forever? Cultivation is so tiring. How can you stop eating meat?" Chu Chu looked helpless. "My cultivation is different from yours. What you cultivate is the domineering way of dominating the world. What I cultivate is the divine way of caring for the common people. We can't be compared together. But Yao's cooking is so good. The vegetables she cooks are also very delicious. Anyway, we are going to have a good meal tonight." Yes, in the blink of an eye, the sun set in the west. A table of food and wine was set up in the pagoda in the backyard of King Qin's residence. Chu Yao personally cooked. The table of delicious food was filled with a fragrant smell. 2 maids lit the lamps. A few guards stood at a distance. Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, Chu Yao, and Chu Chu sat around the table. They looked at the dishes and were already tempted to eat. Lin Muyu poured wine for Chu Chu and smiled. "Thank you, Chu, for teaching me and big sister Chu Yao these days. Come, let me give you a toast." Chu Chu nodded. "It's nothing, you, there's no need to be so polite." After downing the wine, Tang Xiaoxi started to attack the cloud deer meat. Chu Yao's cooking was indeed superb. The cloud deer meat became delicious under her skillful hands. Tang Xiaoxi's face turned red as she ate. She kept putting food into Chu Yao's bowl. Chu Yao maintained some of the dignity of the spiritual medicine department's chief deacon. She smiled as she watched Lin Muyu and Chu drink. This long-lost feeling made everyone very happy. Perhaps this was the feeling of being together with family? Unfortunately, Qin Yin was no longer here. If she was here, Lin Muyu was willing to exchange anything for such a joyous gathering. At this time, outside the spatial wall of the Ghost Dao, after several months of pursuit, Qin Yin's spirit was still unwilling to be bound. With a flash of light, she was already several miles away. Damn, it's so hateful. Qin Ming and Yu Wu flew into a rage. At the same time, their cheeks were full of bruises, especially Yu Wu. The left side of his face was swollen to the point where he could barely see his eye. "Qin Yin, if you continue to be so stubborn, we can only invite the Purgatory Master to take your life. So what if you manage to escape? Can you escape your destiny?" Qin Yin suddenly stopped in the air. Her eyes were dim as she said, "Forget it, I'll go with you to the Ghost Dao." Chapter 676. In the mountains to the south of Sunset City in Lingnan, flags fluttered in the wind. About several hundred imperial guards stood guard outside the valley. All of their faces were filled with fatigue and helplessness. The warhorses had been abandoned several tens of leagues away. The mountain path was filled with huge, jagged rocks, and there was no way for the warhorses to advance. However, there was no other way. In order to protect Prince Exen Feng Jixing, they could only come here. Jianghu had a long beard. He had spent the entire summer and autumn under the sun, tanning like a piece of charcoal. He grabbed a water bag filled with wine and sat on a huge green rock. He twisted open the stopper and drank a big mouthful to his heart's content. Wiping his mouth, he laughed out loud and said, "This mountain is really a cool and relaxing place. It'd be even more beautiful if a few ladies could come and play with us." The chilly arch at the side wore a bitter expression and said, "Lord Jianghu, you're having a good time, but us brothers have nothing to do here all day. His Highness Prince Exine doesn't allow us to visit him either. I wonder how his cultivation is going." Jianghu raised his arm and said, "His Highness has already broken through the limits of the sacred heaven realm and is about to condense his godhood. This is a critical moment, and no one is allowed to disturb him. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless with my fists. Also, who's your name? Go down the mountain and help me get some wine. It'll be even better if you can bring a prostitute back." "Who's your name?" touched his nose and said, "His Highness Prince Exen has already given strict orders. Ever since Prince Qin and Her Highness Yin issued a new decree, the Empire's army is no longer allowed to keep concubines. It's the same for those brought back from outside. Lord Jianghu, you asked me to bring a woman back for you. Do you think that His Highness Prince Xian's fists will be ruthless when he comes out of seclusion?" Jianghu trembled and said calmly, "Women? After venting, they'll feel dry and tasteless. It's fine if I don't want them. Then get a few men who are good at playing dice for old Zhang to go up the mountain." Oh, Lord Jianghui's taste has suddenly become very special. In the middle of the mountains, where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was the most vigorous, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Bolts of lightning mixed with thunder descended from the sky. The angry thunder seemed to fall on the mountains, as if it wanted to tear the whole world apart. The phenomenon in the sky could only mean one thing. Another expert was going through the tribulation. Ascending from the divine heaven realm to the God realm was naturally one of the tribulations. If they succeeded, they would live as long as the world, but if they failed, their spiritual yuan would be damaged, and it would take many years before they could break through to the God realm again. On a round boulder, Feng Jixing sat in his golden armor. He raised his head to look at the strange phenomenon in the sky and couldn't help but sigh. Oh my God, I never thought that I, Feng Jixing, would have such a day. The power in his body surged, and his eye seemed to have been pierced by a ray of light. A new domain was right in front of him. Whether Feng Jixing was willing or not, breaking through to the divine heaven realm was imminent. However, Lin Muyu had promised him that his forged immortal fate was still missing. Sigh, this unreliable brat, he could only rely on himself to break through and form a mortal fate. Slowly standing up, Feng Jixing fiercely stomped on the rock beneath his feet. Instantly, the mountain trembled violently. Feng Jixing then leaped into the air, the energy in his body completely erupting, quickly condensing into a storm that soared into the heavens, and Feng Jixing's body was at the core of the storm. That strong wind tore apart the plane's wall, opening the door to the heavenly realm. In the distance, many pavilions and buildings could be seen floating in midair, spirit cranes flying in the sky, auspicious clouds lingering around. What an auspicious and magnificent scene! Feng Jixing could already see the God realm. As long as he went forward, he would be able to reach the heaven realm, form a godhead, become one of the gods of the heaven realm, and leave this chaotic world. However, he couldn't. There were too many concerns, too many shackles, which made him like Lin Muyu, unable to leave even though he had a glimpse of the heavenly Tao. The wind and waves in his eye were very strong, and a whirlpool started to wreak havoc. Suddenly, a strong sense of emptiness made Feng Jixing feel like he was about to be unable to bear it. His eye was already empty, and there was a huge space for a spiritual fate to use. Either he had a ready-made godhead, or he could only form a new godhead. Feng Jixing stared at the sky and felt a little helpless. Mortal lattice, so be it. Mortal lattice could also be cultivated step by step, breaking through to heavenly Tao lattice, casted immortal lattice, and finally God lattice. However, at this moment, a small golden hole suddenly appeared in the sky, and a gentle and beautiful woman's voice followed. Feng Jixing, take it. This is the forged immortal fate that you asked for you. Feng Jixing was stunned. In the sky, the wind and thunder shook, and the horizon seemed to be torn apart. There was a continuous buzzing sound, and raging flames, thunder, and lightning raged in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the plane's wall was completely broken, and a godhead wrapped in raging flames and lightning came whistling like a meteorite. It was the forged immortal fate that the 7 luminaries demon emperor had created. In the sky, Xiao's voice came again. Empty your mind, you don't have to do anything, just accept this godhead. Alright. Feng Jixing opened up his hands abruptly, and the wind and thunder in the sky kept on raging. The forged immortal fate came down from the sky with overwhelming divine prowess, gushing into Feng Jixing's body. Great waves soared up in his intense sea, and the power of the laws of raging flames, thunder, and gale raged out. Feng Jixing only had a mortal body, so how could he withstand such majestic powers? He cried out in agony. Oh my God, what's wrong with the sky? Zhang Wei tossed away the water bag in his hand and looked at the sky with his eyes and mouth agape. There was a person standing in the sky, and a myriad of divine powers kept on penetrating this person's body. Lightning and thunder rumbled like a heavenly tribulation. That's His Highness Prince Exen. The Chiliarch at the side mumbled. It's the heavenly tribulation, it must be the heavenly tribulation. His Highness Prince Exen is going to become a god. That's right, he's going to become a god. The painful process lasted for close to half an hour, and Feng Jixing's intense sea was also in a mess from the bombardment. He floated in midair, on the verge of death, and his head felt as if it was going to explode. However, he was very sure of one thing. Although his intense sea was in a mess, it had been expanded by at least 10 times. A sparkling and translucent godhead floated in his intense sea, becoming the sole ruler of this domain. The forged immortal fate had been successfully integrated. Feng Jixing was overjoyed, and endless divine powers were emitted from his intense sea, flowing to various parts of his body. They were the divine powers of the laws of wind, thunder, and fire. At the same time, as he clenched his fist, waves of divine waves started to seethe. There was a total of 3 waves. Feng Jixing let out a low bellow, and streams of golden light instantly engulfed his body. His eyes were also covered with a layer of golden light. Both his senses and power had been enhanced by over 10 times. Is this the feeling of being a god? Feng Jixing stood in midair, and let out a long sigh, and said, "This is great." His senses were so sharp that he could even hear the conversation of Jianghu and the others from a few miles away. Another power also began to emerge from his intense sea, breaking through the void, one of the most basic powers that a god possessed. As if he was born with it, Feng Jixing's figure flashed, and with a swoosh he passed through a spatial wall and in the next moment, appeared in the air in front of Zhang Wei and the others. His armor had already been blasted to pieces, and his powerful muscles looked very straight. The power of wind and thunder circled around his arms, and his long hair gently swayed in the wind. Feng Jixing looked at everyone, and lightly smiled and said, "Now, we can go back." Zhang Wei was stunned. "Your Highness, you are now a god?" "Yes. Do you have any questions?" "Yes, I heard that gods can see through everything, and can see through people's hearts. Do you know what I am thinking right now?" The corner of Feng Jixing's mouth curled up. The whore of Sunset City? Oh my god, gods really can see through people's hearts. **T. I can't see through people's hearts, but do you think I don't know you well enough? Your Highness is wise. Let's go, follow me back. There is a group of mountain bandits occupying the mountains in the east of Sunset City, and they often attack the people nearby. When we return, immediately send 5,000 troops to eliminate them. We can't take the people's taxes and not do anything for them. Yes, your subordinate understands. Demon race in the Tongtian Gorge. The demon emperor sat on his throne with a dejected face, like a lonely king. With the death of the Saint Master, it was as if the demon emperor had lost an arm, and he no longer had the dignity and confidence of the past. And the most fatal thing was that the god King Yangli had also died, which made the demon emperor even more terrified. Yangli was one of the god kings that the god emperor of the Northern Heaven realm relied on the most, and was known as one of the experts with the most potential in the Northern Heaven realm. Now that Yangli had died, the news would spread back to the Heaven realm, and the Northern Heaven realm would definitely take action. This was the thing that the demon emperor was most worried about. Although the demon race was strong, if the Northern Heaven realm sent hundreds and thousands of god-level rankers, then the hundreds of thousands of demon race armor demons would just be a decoration. "Father, it's late, rest early." Feng Ning held the lamp and said softly. Feng Yuan nodded as if he had aged a little, and said, "Ning, is there still no news from the Northern Heaven realm?" There was no news from Pei Sun, Huang Yi, and Zhu He after they returned to the Northern Heaven realm. "Oh, I know," Feng Yuan murmured. "Father can't sleep, you go to sleep first. If you see your sister's room light is still on, call Marshal Qianfeng over. Father has something to discuss with him." Not long after, Qianfeng, who was dressed neatly in the armor of a high-ranking officer of the demon race, walked in and knelt on the ground. "Father, why did you call me over so late at night? Is there anything?" A letter in Feng Yuan's hand floated over and landed in front of Qianfeng, and said, "This is a letter from the Eastern Sea, personally written by Marshal Long Qianlin of the Yihe country. Take a look." A letter from Long Qianlin? Qianfeng frowned. Why did he send a letter? "You'll know once you read it." Qianfeng opened the letter, and with just a glance, his face was already filled with shock, and said, "Yihe country still wants to join hands with us? Qin Yi, that old fox, can't be trusted at all." Chapter 677. How big is the Dragon Island? It can't support too many troops. The Yihe country has already used up all their trump cards. They don't have the qualifications to cooperate with us. Qianfeng said coldly. No. The Demon King smiled. Qianfeng, you should put down your airs as a marshal. Father, what do you mean by that? Do you still not understand? Feng Yuan said softly, our god race is no longer the same as before. A few years ago, we relied on the armor demons to sweep across half the continent. But now, the Empire has forged arrow boxes, ballistas, and magic crystal cannons to deal with our armor demon army. The moment Marshal Lei Chong died, the era of the armor demons has passed. Now, we are being suppressed by Lin Muyu in the Tong Tian Gorge. Think about it. If the Iha country sends a certain number of troops to attack Lin Muyu's Dragon's Courage army from the north and south, what will the final result be? Qianfeng frowned. But the Iha country's military strength is worrying. Feng Yuan said, although the Iha country is not as strong as before, as long as they are willing to work hard, they will have at least 200,000 troops. What we need to do is to cut down trees in the Tong Tian Gorge and forge warships to send to the Dragon Island. As long as we provide the Dragon Island with 2,000 warships, Long Qianlin can send 200,000 Iha country's elite troops to Lin Muyu's back. The Iha country is at the end of the road. They won't lie to us, and they won't dare to lie to us. When the time comes, Lin Muyu will not be defeated. Your son understands. I will obey father's orders. Right? We were lucky enough to obtain 3 complete magic crystal cannons in the Battle of Heaven Connect City. Send one of them to Dragon-shaped Island. Long Qianlin's craftsmen are much smarter than ours. If they can develop new magic crystal cannons, perhaps there will be a new turning point in this war. Send the magic crystal cannon to the Dragon Island? Qianfeng was stunned. Who are we sending? I have a suitable candidate. Feng Yuan squinted his eyes and said with a smile, Ji Yao, the former first marshal of the Iha nation. He has been with us for many years and has become our dog. Tomorrow, Ji Yao will be appointed as the 4th marshal of the God clan. We will send him to the Iha nation and give him 3 battleships and 300 soldiers. Yes, I understand. It was late autumn, and the weather was getting colder and colder. Although the Ice Dragon's glacial pond was no longer as cold due to the death of the Azure Frost Dragon, it was still a good place to cultivate. After all, the Azure Frost Dragon had resided here for tens of thousands of years, so the frost spirit energy left behind was very abundant. Lin Muyu quietly lay in the depths of the pond, allowing the cold water to soak his body. Yang Li's frost godhead was above his body, and it was being refined by the refining cauldron's fire. The frost divine power was like a ribbon that lingered around Lin Muyu and was then absorbed. Choosing such a place to cultivate was only to maximize the absorption of the godhead's power. Otherwise, if he cultivated in a volcanic area, more than half of the immortal forged godhead's power would be absorbed by the heat of the volcano. Within his body, the waves of the 19th layer of the heavenly abode kept attacking his body, causing Lin Muyu to feel an unbearable pain. However, he did not hesitate and continued to refine the Godhead's power to replenish the divine power in his body. Wave after wave rushed towards the entrance of his dantian at the fastest speed. As long as he broke through, he would be able to step into the 20th layer of the heavenly abode. Beside the shrubs above the glacial pond, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful eyes stared at the ripples in the pond. She was worried and anxiously waiting. Xiaoxi, there's no need to be anxious. Chu Yao, who was at the side, faintly smiled. Yu has a sense of propriety when he cultivates. Don't worry. Besides, he chose this cold pond himself. There won't be any mistakes. Sister Chu Yao trusts him a lot, but this guy is so crazy when he cultivates. He will hurt his body at every turn. Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips and said, I followed him because I was too worried about him. It's fine. Chu Yao patted her shoulder lightly. At this moment, waves of air surged out of the pond. In the next moment, a golden light shot into the sky, causing the pond water to swirl rapidly. It was like a cold rain. When the pond water started to dissipate, a person slowly walked out of the mist. It was Lin Muyu. He was completely drenched, but his face was filled with excitement and joy. Without a doubt, he broke through again. Layers of waves of God surged on the surface of his body, A total of 20 layers. Did you succeed? Chu Yao asked. Lin Muyu nodded heavily. Tang Xiaoxi also smiled and said, I heard that some of the gods in the 20th grotto heaven of the immortal state have the ability to summon wind and rain. Mu, can you summon wind and rain now? Are you talking about the wind? Lin Muyu laughed and landed in front of Tang Xiaoxi. He raised an arm and moved his fingers slightly as if he was playing a piano. Suddenly, a strong wind rose on the plain behind him, causing the branches of the entire forest to flutter and countless leaves to fly in the wind. It was a spectacular scene. It was rare to see such a strong wind in late autumn. Really? Tang Xiaoxi opened her mouth wide. I have also stepped into the immortal state, but I don't have the ability to summon wind and rain. Lin Muyu glanced at her and said, but not all the immortal state experts are like you. As long as they transform, they can summon the waves of God from the 33rd grotto heaven. Also, their demonic powers are a little scary. Tang Xiaoxi blushed and said, this is an innate ability. I don't really understand it. As she spoke, Tang Xiaoxi naturally held onto Lin Muyu's arm. However, Lin Muyu withdrew his arm as if he was electrocuted. Ever since Qin Yin died, he was not used to any woman touching his body. Tang Xiaoxi was no exception. As a result, Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. The disappointment and sadness on her face was very obvious. I'm sorry, Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu looked at her apologetically and said, I'm not mentally prepared for this. Let's talk about it after we find Xiao Yin. Oh? Tang Xiaoxi murmured. Chu Yao looked at Lin Muyu and then looked at Tang Xiaoxi. As if she could see through their thoughts, she smiled and said, actually, since ancient times, love has always been human nature. I know that you love Xiao Yin deeply, but you also like Xiaoxi, don't you? Now that I'm like this, I have a guilty conscience. Lin Muyu did not deny it. She looked up at the sky and said, no one knows where Xiao Yin is suffering and suffering now. Chu Yao smiled and said, if Xiao Yin comes back in the future, what will you do? I don't know, let's do this. Chu Yao smiled and said, as your elder sister, let me give you a piece of advice. Since we're all in the Qin Empire, let's not be bound by so many shackles. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Even if you marry Xiao Yin in the future, you can still take Xiaoxi as a concubine. Do you want to give such a beautiful Xiaoxi to others? Xiaoxi has so many pursuers that it's enough to break the door of Prince Qin's mansion. I know, Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed and said, it's just that I've never thought about taking a concubine. At the side, Tang Xiaoxi also blushed and said, Sister Chu Yao, you're setting me up for marriage again. Chu Yao giggled and said, how can I not be anxious when the three of you are so tangled up and cause the whole continent to be in such turmoil? Last time, Xiaoxi was jealous and caused the empire to fall. Next time, if Xiao Yin is jealous, I really don't know what kind of mess the three of you will make in this plane. So, for the sake of the people in the world and the billions of people in the shattered tripod world, you get rid of the evil for the people. In the future, when you find Xiao Yin, marry Xiao Yin and Xiaoxi together. What do you think? Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Xiaoxi's face turned even redder. Sister Chu Yao, why does marrying me become getting rid of the evil for the people? If you doesn't marry you, who would dare to marry you? You're so fierce, so willful, so unreasonable. Don't I have a semi-excellent score? Let me think. Chu Yao stammered for a while and said, other than being beautiful and having big breasts, I really don't have anything else. Tang Xiaoxi was so embarrassed that she wanted to crawl into a hole in the ground. Lin Muyu took a deep breath as if she had made a very big decision. She said, I won't let the women I love wander from place to place. In the future, Xiaoxi, you and Xiao Yin will be the same. Stay by my side. As long as you can be together, what does marriage matter? This time, Tang Xiaoxi nodded heavily and said, let's find Xiao Yin first. Although they didn't have any clues, at least their future goals were set. In the ghost's domain, the blood-red rocky mountain led to the end of purgatory, although no one knew where purgatory was. Qin Yin was like a group of ghosts, walking on this road known as the Yellow Springs. The ghosts around her were all dressed in rags, unlike her who could condense clothes from the divine power left in her soul. Among the 3 ghosts walking alongside Qin, one was a hanged ghost with a long tongue sticking out. Another was a starving ghost with a pale face and bony bones. The last one was a ghost that died of old age and had dead fish eyes, looking as if he could die at any moment. Go. On the side, a ghost soldier brandished a leather whip that was attached to his spirit and lashed it heavily into the group of ghosts. He shouted, "Tonight, we'll reach the Bridge of Helplessness and drink Meng Po's soup. I'll teach you how to be a good ghost in your next life." Qin raised her head and glanced at him. The ghost soldier was immediately angry. "Little girl, what are you looking at?" Qin opened her palm, and a bright dragon crystal flashed continuously. She said, "What's wrong with looking at you?" The ghost soldier suddenly looked like a deflated ball. "Miss, you can look all you want. I'm ugly, just don't dirty your eyes." Chapter 678. In the north of the boundless heaven realm, there was a piece of barbarian land. After passing through several fierce storms, there was a lush forest. This forest was tens of thousands of miles wide. Behind the forest was a dense city. The city walls of these cities were inlaid with black gems. Dozens of divine guards were standing outside the city, holding sharp blades in their hands and treading on clouds. Black Rock City, the capital city of the Northern Heaven Realm, and also the residence of the Northern Heaven Realm's divine emperor Dongming. Shua shua, 2 figures flashed out of the spatial wall and appeared in the northern part of the forest. One of them was a beautiful young lady, while the other was a god realm general with a stern expression. This young lady looked extremely familiar. She was Ziyao, a subordinate of the 7 luminaries demon emperor from the Eastern Heaven Realm. Black Rock City, we've arrived. Ziyao looked up at the vast heaven capital and said, Black Rock City stretches for thousands of miles and is known as the #1 city in the Heaven Realm. The Northern Heaven Realm's gods are famous for their ability to conquer and fight. We have to be careful. Sun Feng, no matter what the Northern Heaven Realm's divine emperor says, don't be impulsive. Listen to my orders. Yes, Lady Xiao. Sun Feng was the leader of the 7 luminaries demon emperor's 10 great divine generals. His divine aura was restrained and his footsteps were covered with frost. He was obviously a divine emperor who was well versed in the law of ice. The 2 did not barge into the mountain gate. Ziyao leaped into the air and arrived in front of the giant gate of Black Rock City. She bowed respectfully and said, Eastern Heaven Realm's demon emperor, Ziyao and Sun Feng, request to see divine emperor Dongming. We have brought a gift from the demon emperor. On the city wall, a group of Northern Heaven Realms patrolling heavenly gods took out their halberds and swords and surrounded them. One of them, who was holding a battle axe, said, We, the Northern Heaven Realm and the Eastern Heaven, have always minded our own business. May I know why Fairy Xiao has come to the Northern Heaven Realm this time? I've said it before. I request to see His Majesty the Divine Emperor and present a gift from the Demon Emperor. With that said, Ziyao's gaze turned cold and asked, What, is the Northern Heaven Realm going to shut us out? The gatekeeper laughed heartily. We wouldn't dare. Fairy Xiao is the favorite of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. She's an important figure in East Heaven. How would we dare to slight her? Please come in. I'll go report to His Majesty the Divine Emperor. Thank you. Ziyao and Sun Feng flew over the city wall side by side. Several patrolling Empyrean gods stabbed their weapons into the black curtain of light above the city and opened a door. After the guests passed through, the door immediately closed. The Obsidian Enchantment, the legendary enchantment that once trapped 3,000 god kings to death, was no joke. Inside the Black Rock City, the mountains stood in the air, and the pavilions were connected, forming the scene of a palace floating in the air. Ziyao and Sun Feng went straight to the main hall under the guidance of the guards. Along the way, countless Northern Heaven Realm gods stared at them covetously. Obviously, Ziyao and Sun Feng's clothes were very different from here. They were not Northern Heaven Realm gods. In front of the main hall, there were endless steps. The palace of the Northern Heaven Realm was also the most magnificent of the 4 heavenly courts. There were more than 10,000 steps, and it was unknown how long it would take to walk up the steps. Ziyao and Sun Feng looked at each other and smiled. Their figures turned and disappeared. In the next moment, they had already appeared in front of the main hall. Eastern Heaven Realm Fairy Ziyao and God Emperor Sun Feng have an audience. The loose immortals outside the main hall shouted loudly. Ziyao floated into the main hall. She saw that there were at least 1,000 glazed jade lamps hanging in the main hall, brightly illuminating the deep and serene main hall. The ground was made of a kind of mysterious black stone, smooth and resplendent. However, in the heaven realm, this kind of thing was almost like a decoration, because none of the gods here couldn't fly. Of course, except for the servants they raised. The so-called god servants were human cultivators whose cultivation had not reached the god realm, but were promoted to the heaven realm as an exception. They cultivated bitterly in the heaven realm, and at the same time, they had to take on the roles of craftsmen, farmers, fishermen, etc. Even though these people were the strongest in their own plane, in the god realm, they were the most lowly existences. The people who swept the floor outside were all god servants. At the end of the main hall, a person who was about 30 years old, wearing golden armor and a crown, sat on the throne. There was an indescribable heroic spirit between his brows, and behind him was a blood-red cloak that fluttered in the wind in the void space behind the throne. Dong Ming, the king of the Northern Heaven Realm, an ultimate expert with the cultivation of the 99th level of the God Realm Grotto Heaven. She once fought for 3 days and 3 nights in the desolate God Realm of the Northern Heaven Realm, killing dozens of God Emperor experts, and finally establishing the structure of the heavenly courts in the Northern Heaven Realm. If it wasn't for the existence of this ultimate expert, the Northern Heaven Realm would have long been swallowed by the other 3 great heaven realms. This little girl, Ziyao, greets your Majesty God Emperor Dong Ming. Ziyao gently bowed with her hands clasped in front of her. Sun Feng cupped his fists and said, "One of the god generals under the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, Sun Feng greets your Majesty God Emperor." Dong Ming nodded, and a ray of light shot out from her eyes. "I've long heard of your great name. I've long heard of the names of the 2 great generals under the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor of East Heaven, but I haven't seen them in person. It seems that your reputation is well-deserved. Tell me, what does the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor want to do by sending you to the Northern Heaven Realm?" "Present." "Present?" "Yes, your Majesty Dong Ming." Ziyao waved her hand, and a wooden box appeared in her hand out of thin air. She smiled. "This is the present that the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor wanted me to bring to your Majesty Dong Ming." Dong Ming gently opened his hand, and the wooden box flew over and landed in his hand. Opening it, he saw a ginseng that was glowing with a faint blood light. Dong Ming's body trembled, and he said, "Desolate Field Blood Ginseng?" "That's right, it really is the Desolate Field Blood Ginseng." Ziyao smiled slightly. This Desolate Field Blood Ginseng was found by the Demon Emperor in the Endless Wasteland. It contains the strongest and toughest power between heaven and earth. After eating it, it can greatly increase one's cultivation, so he ordered me to bring it here and present it to your Majesty Dong Ming. Dong Ming handed the Desolate Field Blood Ginseng to the divine servant maidservant at the side. Although the Desolate Field Blood Ginseng was a supreme treasure, it was only useful for divine king realm cultivators. As for divine emperors, they were already unable to refine too much divine power from the Desolate Field Blood Ginseng. However, the forces of East Heaven were getting stronger and stronger, and these 2 people couldn't afford to offend them. Dong Ming smiled and said, "Fairy Ziyao, please convey my gratitude to the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. Men, bring the sea-splitting blade." Very quickly, 2 divinities carried a blade into the main hall. The blue sea storm swirled around the blade, and one could tell at a glance that it was not an ordinary weapon. Dong Ming grabbed the blade's hilt and gently waved it in the air. A cold light flashed, as if it was going to tear open a person's skin. Ziyao and Sun Feng were both stunned. Who didn't know that Dong Ming's cultivation was amazing? But now it seemed that Dong Ming was even more powerful than the legend said. This sea-splitting blade was refined from the bone marrow of a giant blue sea beast. It can cleave through the waves and is always successful. I will present it to the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor as a gift in return. I hope Fairy Xiao will like it. Why would I? Xiao smiled slightly and signaled for Sun Feng to take the sea-splitting blade. She smiled and said, "This time, I have another matter to discuss with Your Majesty Dong Ming." "Oh, what is it?" "Please speak directly." "It's like this." Xiao pondered for a while and said, "A few days ago, Your Majesty Dong Ming sent Divine King Yang Li, Supreme Divinity Huang Yi, and others to the lower realm to go hunting in the Shattered Cauldron realm, which is under the jurisdiction of the East Heaven realm. The God-State cultivator Lin Muyu from the Shattered Cauldron realm is the sworn brother of His Majesty Demon Emperor. Therefore, His Majesty Demon Emperor sent me here to ask Your Majesty Dong Ming to be magnanimous and let Lin Muyu go." "Lin Muyu?" Dong Ming suddenly smiled and slowly sat back on the throne. A murderous intent shot out from her eyes. "Yang Li was the most talented among the thousands of divine kings under me. Moreover, his divinity had been cultivated to the 3rd level. However, he died in the hands of Lin Muyu in the Shattered Cauldron realm. His divinity was also usurped. This is a disgrace to the North Heaven realm. I hope that the East Heaven will not interfere in this matter. This is a grudge between the North Heaven realm and the Shattered Cauldron realm." "Your Majesty." Xiao smiled in a neither servile nor unyielding manner. "The Shattered Cauldron realm is under the jurisdiction of the East Heaven realm. I hope that the North Heaven realm will not act stubbornly. You must know that the Demon Emperor is a sentimental person. Furthermore, he values his sworn brother, Lin Muyu, very much. So, Your Majesty, please think thrice before acting. Are you threatening me?" Dong Ming's expression turned cold. She stood up. Instantly, the surrounding cold air became oppressive. Dong Ming, who possessed the Frost Master God's divinity, was the supreme ruler of the Law of Ice. The layers of cold air were like waves of frost air blowing against one's skin. It was unbearable. Even Sun Feng, who also cultivated the Law of Ice, could not help but find it hard to resist. Layers of golden air waves enshrouded Xiao's body. She stared fixedly at Dong Ming. With an abnormally calm expression, she smiled and said, "If Your Majesty insists on acting stubbornly, you can go ahead and try. Your Majesty and the Demon Emperor are both the supreme rulers of the 99 heavens. If you want to try the changes of the 7 luminary stars' transformation, you can go ahead and try." Dong Ming looked at the upright Xiao and couldn't help but be stunned. Then he laughed out loud and retracted all of his god power. He said, "As expected, the subordinates of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor are not easy to deal with. Fairy Xiao, I was only joking with you just now. Since Lin Muyu is the sworn brother of the Demon Emperor, I, Dong Ming, must give face to the Demon Emperor. Forget it, I will give up on the Shattered Cauldron realm. Let him be." "Thank you, Your Majesty Dong Ming." Xiao nodded her head cheerfully. "I will pass on Your Majesty's thanks to the Demon Emperor." In addition, the Eastern Heaven realm will strengthen their guard for a period of time and seal the gap in the shuttle plane. Your Majesty Dong Ming, please pass down an order to your subordinates. Don't easily descend into the Shattered Cauldron realm. Otherwise, they might die on the way. Dong Ming was startled. "I understand. Thank you for your kindness." "You're welcome. It's what I should do. I will take my leave now." "All right. Men, send off Fairy Xiao and Lord Sun Feng." After watching Xiao and Sun Feng leave, an old god emperor walked forward and said respectfully, "Your Majesty, is Yang Li going to die in vain? I heard that Lin Muyu is currently refining Yang Li's cast Immortal lattice. This is simply an insult to our Northern Heaven realm. How can we not take revenge?" Dong Ming's eyes were cold. "Don't say any more. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor is too strong. The god emperors under him are more than twice the number of us. There's no need to mention this matter anymore. However, Lin Muyu's sovereign lattice will be ours sooner or later." Chapter 679. Roar roar, I died such an unjust death. In the end, I'm still a virgin, kind-hearted ghost soldier, please let me touch a woman. A female ghost would be good too. Don't hit me. Bastardly Xiao Yao, he actually dared to kill me. Damn it, I, Wang Zaicheng, am talented and elegant, but I ended up like this. This is really infuriating. I don't want to die, I haven't found a boyfriend yet. On the Yellow Springs path, all the vengeful spirits wailed with pale faces. Very soon, their path would come to an end. They could only complain about their unwillingness and resentment when they were alive. The entire Yellow Springs path could be said to be filled with complaints. Among the crowd, Qin Yin wore a long white dress with golden edges. She silently followed the flow of the crowd. Looking at the ugly old woman in front of her who was distributing Meng Po's soup, Qin Yin couldn't help but feel lost. She knew that drinking this bowl of Meng Po's soup meant saying goodbye to the past. However, how could Qin Yin be willing? Once she drank this bowl of soup, Lin Muyu might not be able to find her again. Absolutely not. The procession moved slowly, but it was still moving. One by one, the ghosts quieted down after drinking Granny Meng's soup. They no longer had any complaints, and each of them was at ease like an enlightened monk. However, the man in the tattered suit in front of Qin Yin, who called himself Wang Zaicheng, slammed his palm on Granny Meng's table and shouted sternly, "Damned old hag, do you know who I am? How dare you force me to drink your cat's urine? Dream on. I am Wang Zaicheng, the president of the Buddhist Guild's China region." Meng Pa raised her head. Her ugly face was full of wrinkles, like many earthworms. She suddenly smiled, revealing a few sparse teeth, and said, "Dijiang, come, hang this nuisance up for me. Whip him 10,000 times a day until his soul scatters. I want to see who still dares to challenge me in my territory." You dare? I have tens of thousands of artificials under me. When they all come down together, I'll kill you, stinking old hag. Wang Zaicheng wanted to scream again, but suddenly, a ghost general rushed over like a ghost and pierced his chest with a spear. This spear was specially made and was effective against ghosts. Wang Zaicheng's chest was pierced through, crackling with lightning. He screamed in pain, and in the blink of an eye, he was hung on the bridge of helplessness. Whips started to whip him in a rhythmic manner. Finally, it was Qin Yin's turn. A ghost servant brought the bowl of Meng Po's soup to Qin Yin and said coldly, "Drink it. You won't feel any pain after drinking it." Qin Yin looked at him quietly and shook her head. "What, you don't want to drink?" Meng Pa raised her head again and looked at Qin Yin's beautiful face. With a face full of disgust, she said, "I hate beautiful women the most in my life. Come, hold her down and make her drink this bowl of Meng Po's soup. In her next life, I'll let her reincarnate as a prostitute." Looking at Meng Po's evil smile, Qin Yin couldn't help but feel a wave of disgust. She didn't look like she was going to yield. Instead, she looked at Meng Po's bridge. This bridge wasn't very thick. Although it was paved with stone slabs, she should be able to destroy it with her remaining divine power. Thus, her feet suddenly sank, and with a bang, she stepped through the bridge of helplessness. Her body fell into the icy river with a splash. Like a mermaid, she twisted her body and swam downstream. Meng Pa flew into a rage. This little bitch actually broke the bridge of helplessness. She's really going against the heavens. What are you stupid ghost generals still looking at? Go and catch her. If you keep staring, I'll make sure you all suffer the consequences. Don't be afraid of her. Even if she was a god when she was alive, she doesn't even have 10% of her power in our ghost domain. Catch her. If you can't, kill her on the spot and destroy her soul." "Yes, Madam Meng Pa." The group of ghost generals nodded and flew into the blood-red ghost domain. "Ghost tongues, whip the river for me." In the air, a ghost general roared. Suddenly, black, soft tongues stretched out from the ground on both sides of the river and lashed at the water like whips. Amidst the crackling sounds, the water splashed in all directions. Wah! Qin Yin's spirit body was hit on the back by the ghost tongues. She felt a burning pain, but there was nothing she could do. After entering this ghost domain, the dragon crystal seemed to be unable to exert any power, let alone condense a dragon crystal to protect her body. The burning pain on her back was getting worse and worse. She felt like she was bleeding. The cold river water poured over her wound, and she almost fainted from the pain. However, Qinin did not cry out in pain. She did not even dare to stick her head out. She just swam along the riverbed and swam downstream. It was only when the sound above her had died down that she slowly surfaced. She saw that her surroundings were filled with green light, and green mushrooms were growing on the rock walls. Suddenly, she felt extremely hungry. A voice came from her heart. Qinin bit her lip and reached out to pluck a mushroom. A fragrant smell came from it, like the smell of wheat on bread. She took a big bite. It smelled so good. However, after Qinin ate a mushroom, the ghost general's voices came from afar. Damn it, that ghost has eaten the smoked mushroom. Go and catch her. Don't let her regain her strength. Otherwise, we won't be able to defeat her. Qinin was stunned. Could these mushrooms be able to restore her strength? Without hesitation, she plucked all the mushrooms and stuffed them in her mouth. Then, she dived into the water and continued swimming along the riverbed. At the same time, the divine power in her body seemed to have recovered to about 20%. This made Qinin ecstatic. She didn't want to drink the soup of Mengpe. She didn't want to be reincarnated as a stranger. The people far away were still waiting for her to go back. A few ghost generals carried their spears and moved quickly along the river. Their faces were ashen. At this moment, the long cry of a beast suddenly came from the sky. A ghost soldier riding a black bone dragon looked at them coldly. The long whip in his hand flashed with purple lightning. His voice was very cold. Where did that female ghost go? We lost her, Lord Ghost Dragon Chief. A bunch of trash. The Ghost Dragon Chief suddenly raised his hand and whipped the group of ghost generals violently. He only stopped after leaving a bloody mark on them. He said, "What are you waiting for? Continue to look for her." The ghost dragon leader snorted coldly and urged the ugly ghost dragon to fly into the sky. The whip in his hand flickered with lightning, and he began to patrol the river. As long as Qinin appeared, she would be discovered immediately. At the bottom of the river, Qinin looked up at the two ghost dragon leaders in the air and could not help but secretly complain. The ghost dragon leader was the leader of the ghost domain and could use 100% of his strength in the ghost domain. However, Qinin could only use 20% of her strength. Moreover, she was only an ultimate god when she was alive. How could she be a match for the two ghost dragon leaders? The only thing she could do now was to escape for a while. In short, she did not want to drink Mengpo's soup. In the East Heaven, Qinin's beautiful face was enshrouded in the water of the heavenly pond. The 7 luminaries demon emperor brought a few god emperors to observe from the side. At that moment, Xiao and Sun Feng walked over. The 7 luminaries demon emperor asked right away, "Is it done?" "It's done. This is Dong Ming's return gift, the sea-cleaving saber." "Tisita, a broken saber." The 7 luminaries demon emperor snorted coldly. "Sun Feng, this sea-cleaving saber is yours." Sun Feng was ecstatic. "Thank you, demon emperor." Xiao's gaze fell on the scene of the ghost domain in the heavenly pond. She could not help but be stunned. Did Qinin reincarnate into the ghost path? Oh my god, what did she do to be chased by the ghost dragon leader? The 7 luminaries demon emperor sighed and said, "This girl crossed the bridge of helplessness." Xiao burst into laughter. "Sure enough, you're worthy of being the girl that IU likes." Hee hee, I'm dying of laughter. This time, Mengpe, that old and ugly woman, is going to be furious. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was speechless. Don't forget your identity as a god emperor. How can you be calculative with a mere Mengpe? I'm sorry, demon emperor, I misspoke. Xiao regained her composure. She looked at the scene in the heavenly pond again and said, "Demon emperor, Qinin hasn't forgotten the past. She still remembers you?" "Yes, this is the reason why she is unwilling to drink Mengpo's soup." As he spoke, the 7 luminaries demon emperor clenched his fist and said, "No, you misses her so much. While Qin Yin still remembers the past, I must help you meet her." "Don't, demon emperor," Xiao murmured. "The laws of the 3 realms cannot be easily violated. We are the gods of the heavenly realm and have enjoyed the divine power of the heavenly realm for many years. The laws set by the gods of the heavenly realm is that we cannot enter the ghost domain without permission, just like how the ghosts and gods of the ghost domain cannot enter the heavenly realm. Otherwise, they will be severely punished. Moreover, the 3 ghost emperors of the ghost domain are not easy to deal with. It's best that we don't provoke them. This won't do, that won't do. What should we do then?" The 7 luminaries demon emperor gritted his teeth and said, "If they really force me, I will kill my way into the ghost domain and slaughter the 3 ghost emperors. Let's see if they are easy to deal with." Sun Feng clenched his fist and said, "I am willing to follow the demon emperor into the ghost domain." "Don't cause trouble." Ziyao glared at Sun Feng and said, "Demon emperor, I have a way to let you meet Qin Yin, but we won't trigger the heavenly law." "Say it." "You is a god of the mortal world and is not restricted by the heavenly law. We can point a way for you to enter the ghost domain and find Qin Yin. Wouldn't that be the best of both worlds?" "That's right, why didn't I think of this?" The 7 luminaries demon emperor clenched his fist, his face full of joy. "You're confused because you care too much." Ziyao glared at him and said, "I really don't know what you owe Lin Muyu in your past life. For him, we have put in so much effort." "Ah, you're still laughing? Do you know how to enter the ghost domain from the mortal world?" "I don't." "Then why are you laughing? Don't I have you?" Ziyao was so angry that her shoulders trembled. "I am the overgod of the law of life, and I am actually helping you sneak into the ghost domain. If this gets out, how am I going to show my face in the divine realm?" Chapter 680. The captaincy of the Longdan army camp had all gathered in the great hall of King Qin's residence in Tongtian City. A 10-meter-long sand table was placed in the center of the great hall. The coastline of the entire empire was outlined on it, and all the ports were marked. However, the empire had always been good at fighting on land and didn't have a decent navy. Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao stood beside Lin Muyu and watched her study the terrain quietly. "Greetings, Princess Shi, greetings, Chief Deacon Chu Yao." Wei Chou and Situ Sin bowed respectfully. "No need to be so polite." Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao nodded in unison. Wei Chou walked forward and said, "Your Highness, the commander of the Navy, Marquis Vassi, Bailey Tsong, will arrive at Tongtian City in about 3 days. Should we wait for Lord Bailey Tsong to arrive before discussing the matter of expanding the Navy?" "No need." Lin Muyu shook her head. "I want to expand the navy of the Dragon's Courage Legion, not the Empire's navy. When Bailey Tsong arrives, we only need him to provide the warships built by the Ministry of Works." "Yes." At the side, Feng Shi asked in confusion, "Your Highness, the Empire has always fought on land. Why is Your Highness thinking of the sea? Could it be Your Highness is the same as His Highness Feng Jixing, wanting to attack the dragon-shaped island and eradicate the last remnants of the Iha nation?" "No, I don't want to kill them all. I just want to—" Lin Muyu pointed to the east of the sand table and said, "No one has been to this part of the sea before, and no one knows what's there. However, I have to consider the Empire and be prepared for the enemy on the other side of the sea. Moreover, aren't the demon race also building warships on a large scale on the east side of the Tongtian Gorge? We must be on guard as soon as possible." Wei Chou said, "How should we plan it specifically?" Lin Muyu gently moved her finger along the coastline and said, "Deploy a large number of soldiers from Qihai Province, Yunzhong Province, and Lingnan to guard the coastline. Set up a beacon tower every 5 miles and a harbor every 100 miles. Build docks and warships to keep the coastline firmly in the hands of the Qin Empire. In addition, increase the speed of building magic crystal cannons. If there are enemies on the sea, use the giant cannons to entertain them." Wei Chou narrowed his eyes and said, "But Your Highness, We have almost searched out all the magic crystals in the Empire. On this continent, more than 80% of the production of magic crystals comes from the underground mountain range of the sky-piercing gorge. I'm afraid that if we don't defeat the demons, we won't be able to obtain more magic crystals. Got it. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and felt a little annoyed. As the king of Qin dynasty, there were naturally more things to worry about. These trivial things were even more troublesome than fighting the demons. At this moment, suddenly there was a noise from outside. "Your Highness, there is a woman asking to see you." "But, Your Highness, this woman is going to force her way in. Be careful, Your Highness. We can't hold her down." Wei Chou and Sidusen drew their swords almost at the same time. They didn't know who had eaten a bear's heart and leopard's heart to break into King Qin's mansion. However, Lin Muyu didn't take any action. She just slightly raised the corner of her mouth and said, "Let her in." In fact, Lin Muyu could already feel the divine power of life permeating all things. It was none other than the overgod of the law of life, Fairy Xiao. Xiao wore a green dress that was as spotless as a hibiscus on the surface of the water. She floated into the main hall of King Qin's mansion. Her dress fluttered in the wind, and a powerful domain descended in the surroundings. Wei Chou, Sidusen, and the others didn't even have the strength to move. Those with slightly lower cultivation levels felt a little suffocated. "Xiao, have mercy. They are all my people." Lin Muyu smiled. Xiao giggled. "I'm not going to touch them. You don't have to worry." As she spoke, Xiao completely withdrew the aura of her domain and walked towards Lin Muyu like a fairy that had descended from the mortal world. She smiled faintly and asked, "How have you been recently? Can't you all spy on me through the heavenly lake?" As a god, Lin Muyu could still sense when she was being spied on. Xiao was a little embarrassed. She said, "This is also for your safety. You don't know, but because of you, almost all 4 heavenly realms have been affected." "I know, thank you." Lin Muyu nodded. Although the sovereign persona that she had awakened in her EC could bring her endless potential and power, it also meant that there were more risks involved. After all, a godhead was something that could be seized and taken for oneself. Who wouldn't want it? Xiao smiled affectionately. "How have you been these days?" "Yes, thank you for the red spider lily essence that you gave me last time. Without it, I'm afraid that I would still be stuck in the 11th heaven." "Hee, don't mention it. We're all family." Xiao giggled, and she had the feeling of stunning everyone with a sweet smile, causing Wei Chou, Sidusen, and the others to be dumbstruck and almost drool. "For you." Tang Xiaoxi clenched her fists and came to Lin Muyu's side. She stood side by side with Lin Muyu and hid the fire divine power in her body. She looked at Xiao with hostility. After all, there were not many women who could talk and laugh with Lin Muyu. This woman was not simple, and it made Tang Xiaoxi feel very threatened. Chu Yao also frowned and said, "Who is this? How dare you trespass into King Qin's mansion? You seem to be familiar with you." "Trespass into King Qin's mansion?" Xiao puffed out her breasts, which were at least 34 c, and proudly said, "I am the guardian of the God Realm's northern territory, the wielder of the law of life, and the second strongest God Emperor in the Eastern Heaven Realm. May I ask these 2 beautiful ladies, do I, Xiao, have the qualifications to enter King Qin's mansion?" Tang Xiaoxi's and Chu Yao's beautiful faces turned pale. They originally thought that the woman in front of them was very powerful. She might be a God King Realm expert, just like Ouyang Yan. They didn't expect her to be a God Emperor Realm expert. Such a person could probably destroy half of the Shattered Cauldron Realm by herself, right? After all, she was already a ruler of a law. Lin Muyu snickered. She looked at the 2 beauties beside her and said with a heartless smile, "Xiao Shi, are you 2 jealous?" Tang Xiaoxi blushed and said, I just thought highly of you before Xiao Yin returned." "Don't think too much, I will not be jealous." Chu Yao was also speechless. "Yeah, we just thought highly of you on behalf of Xiao Yin." Who knew what they were thinking? In any case, Lin Muyu was not in the mood to figure it out. He was more concerned about the reason why Xiao came down from the Heaven Realm. The gods of the divine realm would lose their cultivation when they flew down to the mortal world. This should be the second time that Ziyao came to the Shattered Cauldron world. Something big must have happened. Ziyao, please take a seat. Lin Muyu pulled out a chair and said respectfully. Ziyao sat down quietly. At this time, Ouyang Yen walked over from afar and bowed. She said, Ouyang Yen greets God Emperor Ziyao. No need to be so polite. Ziyao glanced at it and already knew what was going on. She smiled and said, looks like it's Ayu who helped you condense a new godhead. Although it's a heavenly Tao godhead, with your comprehension ability towards flames, I believe that in a few years, this godhead will transform into a caste immortal godhead. Ouyang Yen, at that time, we each served different masters and seized your godhead. You won't blame us, right? Winner takes all. Now that Demon Emperor is the ruler of East Heaven, I naturally won't say anything. Moreover, I am now His Highness King Qin's person, and God Emperor Ziyao is His Highness friend, so, that's good, that's good. No need to be so polite. I still have things to say to you. Those unrelated people, please leave first. Ziyao raised her head and looked at everyone. Situ Sun touched his nose and said, I am the Deputy General Manager of the Longdan Army Camp. Do I count as unrelated people? Wei Chou patted his shoulder. We are both unrelated people. Hurry up and leave. Give yourself some face. Don't be embarrassed if you are chased out. Yeah, you are Duke Wei, one of the 4 Grand Dukes of the Empire. If you are chased out, it will be more embarrassing than me. Shut up and leave. Not long after, only Ziyao, Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, and Chu Yao were left in the hall. The 2 little beauties didn't want to leave, but there was nothing she could do. Ziyao couldn't really drive them away. After all, Ziyao knew that these 2 were Lin Muyu's confidants. She couldn't do it. All right. Ziyao stood up and looked deeply at Tang Xiaoxi. Then she said, we found Qin Yin's whereabouts. What? Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi exclaimed in shock. Ziyao said, do you know what Xiao Yin is going through? I don't know. You only know to look for her everywhere, but you don't know where she is. Ziyao sighed and said, after Xiao Yin's overgod godhead died, I protected her 3 souls and 6 spirits from dispersing and escaped into the 6 paths of reincarnation. The first reincarnation cycle is the human path. The girl you saved in the Crimson Abyss, Li Minya, is Qin Yin's reincarnation. That girl. Lin Muyu's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She stood there dejectedly and recalled everything that happened in the Crimson Abyss. It was as if she could hear the girl's crisp voice again. Immortal, are you really omnipotent? At the thought of this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a lump in her throat and almost burst into tears. She murmured, why didn't you tell me earlier? So what if I told you? The cause and effect have already been decided. Ziyao said indifferently, Xiao Yin's second reincarnation cycle is the animal path. She turned into a green swan to protect you, that green feather. Green feather. After Green Feather's death, Xiao Yin's soul once again entered the cycle of reincarnation, and this time, it is the ghost path. Ziyao looked at Lin Muyu and said, do you know why I came to find you? I want to go to the ghost path and find Xiao Yin. That's right. Ziyao nodded and said, in this life, Xiao Yin has entered the ghost path, and she refused to drink Meng Po's soup, so she still retains her memories of the past. This is a great chance for you to see her. If you miss this life, who knows how many years it will be before you can see her again. Bring me to see her. Lin Muyu's voice was soft but indescribably powerful. Chapter 681. Ziyao sat down quietly and said softly, I'm a god of the heavenly realm. Restricted by the laws of the divine realm, the gods of the heavenly realm are not allowed to enter the ghost's domain. This is an order set hundreds of thousands of years ago, so I can't break this order. This time, I can only send you into the ghost's domain. As for how to find Xiao Yin, it's up to you. Don't worry. Lin Muyu nodded, her eyes full of determination. You're a god of the lower realm, so you're not restricted by the order of the divine realm. However, if you meet the 3 ghost emperors in the ghost domain, it's best to avoid them. They're very strong, so you must be careful. N. Beside her, Tang Xiaoxi looked at her and asked, Sister Xiao, can I go with Mu? Oh, why do you want to go? Xiao looked at her with a smile. It was probably because Tang Xiaoxi killed Qin Yin, which caused great harm to Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, so Xiao didn't have a good impression of Tang Xiaoxi. She said, You killed Qin Yin. I don't need to remind you, do I? I'll bear the consequences of my own actions. Tang Xiaoxi said softly. No need. Xiao said, if you want to make up for your guilt towards Qin Yin, you'll have plenty of opportunities in the future. But this time, only you can go alone, because I can only send one person into the ghost domain at a time. Otherwise, the loss of divine power will be too great. It's not something that can be replenished by refining the spiritual qi of the divine realm. Lin Mu said, Shao Shi, stay in this plane and wait for me to come back. If you really feel guilty, wait for Shao Yin to come back and tell her personally. Let me finish this matter alone. Tang Xiaoxi stood there silently. Her heart was in a mess. She wanted to make up for the mistake she had made, but no one gave her the chance. Chu Yao gently hugged Tang Xiaoxi's shoulder and said, Shao Shi, listen to you. We'll just wait here quietly for his return. Moreover, after you leaves, there will be no one to manage the situation in Lingdong and Tongtian provinces. You are the princess of Fugua. You should stay and manage the situation. This is what you should do. Tang Xiaoxi nodded. I know I will. Mu, you must bring Shao Yin back. As long as she is willing to forgive me, I will do anything. No, it won't be that easy for Shao Yin to come back. Xiao broke Tang Xiaoxi's dream and said, This trip to Ghost Domain is only for you and Shao Yin to meet, but it won't change the process of Shao Yin's reincarnation. I think you must want to see Shao Yin, and Shao Yin also wants to see you. If we forcibly bring Shao Yin out of Ghost Domain, she will just be a soul without a body. Sooner or later, her soul will turn into ashes. Only after crossing the 6 realms and attaining enlightenment will she be able to reconstruct her divine personality and body. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned and didn't know what to say. Lin Muyu took a deep look at her, held her shoulder, and said, Shao Shi, if you want to make it up to Shao Yin, then help her guard the mountains and rivers that belong to her, okay? After you were abducted to the Devil Clan, the Demon Clan in the Forest of Infinity has been out of the control of the Empire. They have repeatedly harassed the Empire's garrison in the Demon Suppressing Pass. You still need to go to the peace of the Western region. Only when you go, Ling Hu Yen and others in the Forest of Infinity will yield to the control of the Qin Empire. Tang Xiaoxi nodded gently. I will move. You must be careful when you go to Ghost Domain. Come back alive to see me and Sister Chu Yao. I know. Then, let's get ready to go. Xiao smiled faintly and said, The gate of Ghost Domain will open at midnight, but before that, we have to find a place of extreme Yin so that we can cut through the bit wall and send you to Ghost Domain. A place of extreme Yin? Lin Muyu was stunned. Chu Yao and Tang Xiaoxi were also at a loss. A place of extreme Yin was rarely heard of. At this moment, Sidusen's voice came from outside the door. Your Highness, there is a mass grave 10 miles southeast of Tongtian City. It is said that ghosts often appear at night. That place should be regarded as a place of extreme Yin. Have you been eavesdropping? Lin Mu asked. Oh, I'm just passing by. I'll take my leave now. Xiao chuckled and said, Then let's go. We'll find that mass grave and wait until midnight to cross the bit wall. But Lin Muyu once again asked Chu Yao and Tang Xiaoxi to stay behind to take charge of the situation and then left Tongtian City with Xiao. Lin Muyu went first. After breaking the void, she was already 10 miles away from the city, while Xiao quickly broke the space wall and followed Lin Muyu's aura. Under the setting sun, the two flew side by side over the jungle, looking for the mass grave that Situ Sen had mentioned. After nearly an hour, they finally found it. It was a densely packed grave, about 2 or 3 miles away from the nearest village. Most of the poor people in Tongtian City, as well as those who died in the war, were buried here. Lin Muyu floated to the ground. She shook her palm gently and spat out a soft force, shattering the bodies of 2 wild dogs that were tearing apart a rotten corpse not far away. A dignified god actually spends her energy on this kind of place. Ziyao smiled faintly. With a flip of her palm, raging flames burned the rotting corpse into ashes. She raised her palm, and a gust of wind blew, instantly turning the corpse into ashes. Although Ziyao was the ruler of the life law, she was also well versed in the power of the other laws. Most God Emperor level experts had this ability. Lin Muyu sat down on a rock under a vigorous old pine tree, pulled out the star's sword, and carefully wiped it. Ziyao sat at the side with interest and said with a smile, there should be a story behind this star's sword, right? Lin Muyu nodded. Back when I was in Lanyan City, I followed an elder to learn the imperial sword technique. This star's sword was his favorite collection. Later on, the Iha country was in turmoil and they snatched this sword away. They also killed my teacher and cast his soul into the sword to become the sword's soul. This is the origin of this sword. Oh, Ziyao nodded and said, although the God realm has established the order of the 3 realms, the human realm is still in constant war. Many living beings are suffering from the chaos of war. It seems that we gods can only enjoy the incense offered by the living beings, but we can't do anything for the human realm. Lin Muyu smiled and asked, Ziyao, how long have you ascended? Counting carefully, it has been 3,000 years. Ziyao smiled and said, why are you suddenly asking me about this? Big sister of 3,000 years. Lin Muyu held back her laughter and said, tell me what the God realm is like? Ziyao said, the God realm is just a saying. In other words, it is just a spatial plane with abundant spiritual energy. The God realm is also known as the myriad realms and stars. The gods travel through it happily. The myriad realms and stars are divided into the east, south, west, and north star regions, which are ruled by 4 supreme god emperors. The east heaven is currently controlled by the demon emperor. There are nearly 1,000 god emperors, more than 10,000 god kings, and countless supreme gods. The east heaven has more than 4,000 planes under its jurisdiction. The shattered cauldron realm where you are and the earth where you were originally from are 2 of the planes. The gods of the heaven realm rely on the power of faith in the planes to absorb divine power and control the 3 realms, but they can't do anything about it. There are more than 4,000 planes like the shattered cauldron realm. Yes, this is still considered a small number. There are at least 30,000 such planes in the 4 great celestial realms. Outside the 4 great celestial realms, there is the even more vast heaven beyond heaven. It is said that there are many prehistoric ancient gods there, but we still don't know about it. The gods who went to the heaven beyond heaven have never returned. As she spoke, Ziyao flipped her hair and her eyes were full of yearning. She said, it must be a paradise, right? Paradise? Lin Muyu smiled meaningfully. It is probably a world where the strong prey on the weak? What do you yearn for? Ziyao asked with a smile. I want to find Shaoyin and live my current life. Or I want to live in seclusion in the mountains and plant peach blossoms and pear blossoms. I want to stand aloof from worldly affairs and cultivate in peace. Ziyao actually felt slightly yearning for it as well, and the corners of her mouth curled into a happy smile as she said, hearing you say that, even I feel so envious. It's just that, there doesn't seem to be anyone that's willing to give me such a life. Truthfully speaking, I'm slightly envious of little girls like little Yin and little Shi. Why are you jealous? Lin Muyu said in a self-deprecating manner. I can't even protect the woman I love. Sometimes I feel that I am really useless. What do you mean by useless? Ziyao's beautiful eyes narrowed as she said, how old are you? You stepped into the God realm at the mere age of 34 and cultivated the 20th layer of heavenly abode. Even in the entire divine world, there aren't many who can do that. You're still not satisfied. When I was your age, I was only a saint realm. Is that so? Lin Muyu looked at Ziyao's appearance and said, Sister Ziyao, when you stepped into the saint realm, you were 25 at most. Looking at your appearance now, you should have entered the immortal state long ago. I only stepped into the saint realm at the age of 29. Xiao pursed her lips and said, if it wasn't for my natural beauty, I am afraid I would be an old woman by now. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Brat, what are you laughing at? Xiao was really acting like a big sister. Lin Muyu smiled and said, tell me your story. Sister Xiao, what were you like in the past? In the past? Xiao recalled and said, I was born on a deserted planet. That plane was very polluted and monsters ran amok. When I was 7, my parents were killed by monsters. Later, I cultivated with my uncle and he taught me martial arts. Then, when I was 20, my uncle was killed by a monster during a hunting mission. After that, things became clear. I stepped into the saint realm at the age of 29, stepped into the immortal state at the age of 62, and became an emperor god 1,000 years later. I defeated all the monsters in that plane with my own strength and was worshipped as a goddess. After that, my family and friends grew old and died one by one. I got bored and ascended to the immortal state. Lin Muyu, why aren't you talking? Xiao murmured. Lin Muyu smiled and said, you look gentle and weak, but in the past, you were a queen and a tough woman. I was just in a daze to show my respect. Xiao smiled and said, you are quite interesting. No wonder you are so popular with girls. Is that so? Yes. Xiao looked around and said, start a fire and roast some food. You may not be able to have a good meal after you go to Ghost's domain. Before that, you should rest up. Chapter 682. As night fell, a bonfire crackled and burned in the mass grave. Although Lin Muyu was not very hungry, he still grabbed a roasted rabbit and gnawed on it. He also knew that the food in the ghost realm could not be eaten by mortals and gods. Even if it was food carried in the cosmos sack, once taken out in the ghost realm, it would immediately be stained with the aura of death. No one knew what would happen if they ate it. Xiao held a branch in her hand and slowly fiddled with the firewood. With a peaceful expression, she said softly, I have to ask you one more time. Don't be annoyed. Say it, Xiao. Lin Muyu put down the roasted rabbit and looked at Xiao with bright eyes. The ghost realm is also known as the Yellow Springs of Hell. After you enter the ghost realm, you should be above ground, the legendary Fengdu. Below Fengdu are the 18 layers of hell. Needless to say, you should know what these 18 layers of purgatory are for. No matter good or bad, as long as you die, you will definitely undergo the test of the 18 layers of purgatory. Only then can you decide where you will go. After you pass through the 18 layers of purgatory, there will be many paths waiting for you to choose, but you must remember to stay away from the Nether Springs. The Nether Springs is the end of all life. Anyone who enters the Nether Springs, regardless of whether they are ghosts or gods, will completely disappear. What you need to do is very simple. Find Qin Yin and send her into the Well of Reincarnation. Well of Reincarnation? Remember, stay away from the Nether Spring and avoid the claws of the 3 great ghost emperors. In addition, you have to be careful. Although you are a god, the ghost realm only belongs to ghost immortals and not gods. A lower realm scattered god like you will be suppressed by the aura of death in the ghost realm. At most, you can only use 70 to 80% of your power, so you must be careful. I understand. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said in a low voice, I will be careful. Sister Xiao, don't worry. Quickly finish your food. It's almost time. All right. After eating the rest of the rabbit meat in 2 or 3 bites, Lin Muyu clapped his hands. His heart was filled with nervousness and anticipation. He was nervous because he was about to enter the legendary underworld, and he was looking forward to seeing Qin Yin again after 5 years. He really missed her too much. It was late at night, crows were circling and cawing in the sky. The entire mass grave was filled with ghastly flames, and from afar, there were creepy wails and howls that made one's hair stand on end. However, Lin Muyu and Xiao were both brave people. One was an emperor god while the other was a hierarch. Even ghosts were afraid of them, so why would they be afraid of ghosts? Lin Muyu circulated his divine power, and golden light covered his eyes. Instantly, he could see the ghosts and spirits in the graveyard around him. They were all spiritual bodies, and there was nothing to fear. They could only scare mortals. He looked at the ghosts and said in a low voice, "Why are you entrenched here instead of reincarnating as soon as possible? Are you waiting for someone to come and collect it?" The group of ghosts trembled and knelt on the ground. "Please spare us, exalted goddess. Once the earth gate opens, we will immediately disperse." Xiao looked up at the starry sky. It was almost midnight. She said, I am preparing to open the passage to the ghost realm. You have to be careful, understand? I will not return to the heavenly realm for now. I will wait for you here. Once I am sure you are safe, I will go back." "Alright, thank you, Xiao. You are welcome." Xiao looked ahead and took a step forward. Her boots stomped on the ground, and suddenly, a golden ripple surged out, blowing away the fallen leaves and dust. She slowly raised her arm, and divine power lingered around her. A total of 96 divine waves surged crazily, and with a muffled poof, the wall of the plane was opened in front of her. Inside, there was a dense ghostly aura, and blood-red lava splashed everywhere. It was the ghost domain of hell. "How dare you!" Inside the crack, a few ghost soldiers holding spears shouted, "Who are you? How dare you open the earth gate without permission? Do you want to be captured by the ghost soldiers? You must be tired of living." Xiao's body flew up slowly. Her dress fluttered without any wind. Her body was surrounded by the power of the 96 grotto heavens. She looked at the other side of the crack and said, "What did you say just now? Do you dare to say it again?" When the ghost soldier saw that it was a god emperor, he was immediately scared out of his wits. He hurriedly threw away his weapon and knelt on the ground, shouting, "God, spare me, spare me." This lowly one had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. "Please spare my dog life." "Get lost." "Yes, yes, yes." The group of ghost soldiers threw away their helmets and armor and fled. Xiao looked at Lin Muyu and said, I can only help you this much. Hurry up and go. The rest of your journey depends on you." Lin Muyu leaped in, and the moment she passed through the plane, she felt an intense burning pain all over her body, as if a layer of her skin had peeled off. Sure enough, the ghost realm was different from the human realm, and her divine power could not be fully unleashed in the ghost realm. With a whoosh, she was already in the ghost realm, and the spatial crack behind her quickly closed up. The roar of the ghost dragon leader's mount came from afar. Lin Muyu quickly landed and hid in a patch of red grass. She hid herself first and then went to find Qin Yin. She used her divine power and spread the spiritual pulse technique. There was no better way to find Qin Yin than this. But after a while, Lin Muyu's heart was filled with despair. The detection radius of the spiritual pulse technique was 50 miles, but she could only sense groups of wandering souls, ghost soldiers, ghost dragon leader, ghost servants, and so on. She couldn't feel Qin Yin's aura. It was reasonable to say that Qin Yin still retained her memories of the past. Her aura should also be preserved. There was only one answer. The underworld was too vast. It seemed that Qin Yin was not in this area. Xiao had said that Qin Yin was being chased by the ghost dragon leader in the ghost domain. Perhaps this was a clue. Immediately, Lin Muyu made up her mind to find out where the chaos was in the ghost domain. Perhaps she could find where Qin Yin was. If it didn't work, she would create a commotion herself to attract Qin Yin's attention. He leaped up and flew into the distance like a meteor. Countless ghost soldiers and ghosts raised their heads one after another, but they only saw a figure. As for who it was, they had no way of knowing. However, to be able to fly unhindered in the ghost domain, he must not be an ordinary person. His strength was definitely above the leader of the ghost dragons. After all, the leader of the ghost dragons needed a dragon to fly, but this person was amazing. He could fly in the air and did not look like a mortal. Who is it? On a ground covered with desolate bones, two ghost dragon leaders were resting. When they looked up, they saw a person flying past. One of them immediately got up and mounted the dragon's back. He said, "Someone has broken into the underworld. Go and report to the Lord. I'll go capture that kid and meet up with you immediately." Do you King want to take all the credit? Dong Chao, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Shueba, you idiot. Why are you haggling over every little thing? If you want to take the credit, you can go after him. I, Dong Chao, will go and report to the Lord. Dong Chao raised his long whip, which was flashing with lightning, and said coldly, I won't fight with you for the credit. Shuebai immediately cowered. He touched the scar on his face and recalled that this scar had been left behind by a person who had intruded into the underworld over 500 years ago. He said, Very well, I will report this to His Excellency. You must follow closely behind him. Don't let that brat slip away. Otherwise, if His Excellency pursues this matter, I won't be able to stop you. Humph, I don't need you to tell me. Dong Chao suddenly pulled the reins and shouted, let's go. Follow me to chase that kid. The ghost dragon roared, spread its wings, and rushed into the distance. It opened its sharp mouth as if it was going to eat people. In the blood-red night sky, Lin Muyu flew with her hands behind her back. Because she had to use the spiritual pulse method to search for the aura, she didn't fly very fast. But soon, Lin Muyu sensed that someone was following her. She glanced at it from the corner of her eyes and found that it was a ferocious ghost dragon leader chasing after her. What a fearless guy! When he flew closer, Dong Chao raised his bright whip and cracked it in the air, shouting, Boy, who are you? How dare you trespass into the ghost realm? Do you know where you are? Didn't you say it yourself? This is the ghost realm. Bah! Dong Chao waved his whip, which was flashing with lightning. He said with a hideous smile, Do you think the underworld is a place that you can come and go as you please? You are just an individual immortal from the mortal world. How dare you come to the ghost realm to court death? I, Dong Chao, will let you know what it means to break into the hell instead of the heaven. As he said, Dong Chao raised his whip, and a ray of light full of lightning and ghost power lashed at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu didn't underestimate her enemy. She quickly unsheathed her star's sword and slashed at Lin Muyu. A bright light rose in the air, and the starlight appeared. Bang! Sparks flew in all directions. Dong Chao's arm was numb from the impact, and he almost lost his grip on the whip. When he looked up, he saw a handsome face less than a step away from him. Lin Muyu smiled. Her fist was filled with the dark energy of the chaos of the lives, and it landed heavily on Dong Chao's shoulder from the air. With a loud sound, Dong Chao felt that his entire shoulder was no longer his. He was beaten so hard that he felt dizzy. The ghost dragon also whined and fell down with its master. Bang! They fell into the green fluorescent river in the jungle, splashing the water. Dong Chao drank a few mouthfuls of water embarrassedly and stood up. He pointed at the sky and cursed, Boy, who the hell are you? Do you want to die by coming to the ghost realm? Lin Muyu couldn't help laughing. I don't have time to argue with you. Don't follow me anymore, or I'll kill you. Don't be arrogant. Dong Chao's saliva splashed and he cursed loudly, F***ck. Don't be arrogant. Where do you think this is? This is the underworld, the ghost realm of the three realms. There are 101 ghost lords under the 3 ghost emperors, 1,000,000 ghost dragon leaders under the ghost lords, 10 million ghost soldiers under the leader, and hundreds of millions of ghosts under the ghost soldiers. I tell you, you are dead. When Dong Chao was about to curse again, he looked up and found that the boy in the air had already flown away. He clenched his fists, and the anger on his face was replaced by complacency. Humph, you left so fast. I knew you were afraid. Chapter 683. Kiki. As she flew, a ball of fiery red energy rushed over from afar. When Lin Muyu focused her eyes, she realized that they were birds. However, these birds were not as docile as the birds in the mortal world. They were nightingales with blood-red eyes. They spread their wings and charged at Lin Muyu with unstoppable force. It was likely that they had sensed the aura of a living person on Lin Muyu's body. These bloodthirsty nightingales seemed to have gone mad. Lin Muyu raised her hand and pulled out her sword. With a gentle flick of her wrist, sword sparks appeared in the air and swept out like a meat grinder. In the blink of an eye, dozens of bloodthirsty nightingales were reduced to minced meat and feathers that fell from the sky. From the looks of it, the defenses in the ghost underworld did not rely entirely on the ghost dragon leader. There were also these wild monsters. After a round of fierce attacks, Lin Muyu recovered her breath. At this moment, her spiritual perceptions suddenly felt a ripple. There seemed to be someone arguing in front of her. She immediately accelerated and tore through the air like a bolt of lightning. There were only a few clumps of withered grass on the blood-red ground that was filled with desolate bones. There were countless ghosts trapped in soul-restraining cages standing to the side. There were dozens of ghost soldiers escorting them on the road to the underworld, but at this moment, the ghosts were no longer moving. The ghost soldiers raised their weapons and killed the disobedient ghosts on the spot. When the spear pierced through the spirit body, it was like being burned by fire and electricity. The ghosts screamed miserably before turning into scattered spirit light. Lin Muyu frowned and leaped down from the sky. At the instant she landed, she activated her god's domain. An invisible force enveloped the surroundings, preventing the ghosts and ghost soldiers from moving. "For you?" a ghost soldier leader asked with a trembling body. He could feel the rich aura of the young man who had descended from the sky. Lin Muyu did not answer him. Instead, she asked, "What's going on here? Why is it so noisy?" "It's just a few disobedient ghosts." "For you? Who allowed you to enter the ghost underworld?" The leader of the ghost soldiers sniffed and said, "You have the smell of a living person on you." "Are you a living person?" Lin Muyu suddenly pressed the blade against his chest and said, "Answer me, what's going on here?" The leader of the ghost soldiers looked miserable. "I've already answered. It's just a few disobedient ghosts. Please spare my life." "I won't dare to do it again." Lin Muyu coldly glanced at him, then looked at the group of ghosts. The faces of these ghosts were extremely ugly. Just like ghosts, it was quite scary. Luckily, Lin Muyu had a secret art, so she wasn't worried about this. These ghosts should be afraid of her, so she asked, "I'm asking you guys a question, what's going on here?" A white-haired ghost cupped his hands and said, "Young hero, one of us didn't want to reincarnate into the animal realm, so he struggled to escape and become a wandering ghost. In the end, he was killed by this ghost soldier. So that's how it is." Lin Muyu turned to look at the leader of the ghost soldiers and said, "Why can you kill people at will?" According to the rules of the ghost realm, every ghost soldier can punish and kill less than 100 little ghosts in a day. "Young hero, please spare my life. I am just following the rules. In the 3 realms, only the ghost realm can accommodate 3 souls and 7 spirits. We have to accept more than 100 million ghosts every day. If they are disobedient and unwilling to move forward, they will disturb the order of the road to the underworld. If the ghosts stop moving forward, there will be countless ghosts lingering in the ghost realm and not entering the cycle of reincarnation. This is a big deal." Lin Muyu frowned and didn't say anything. She rose from the ground and flew into the distance. The group of ghost soldiers and ghosts looked up and were stunned. "Is this a human?" the white-haired old ghost asked. "It doesn't look like it. People can't fly." Another old ghost took a deep breath and said, "This is a god, a living god. I didn't expect that I, Yangchuan, would see a living god after wandering in the ghost underworld for so long. Bah, what bullshit god, he will die sooner or later." The ghost soldier leader said disdainfully, "I've been on duty for tens of thousands of years, but I've never seen a god who trespassed into the ghost underworld come out alive. This kid's godhead will most likely become the sacrifice of Lord Ghost Emperor. Just wait and see, he dared to trespass into the ghost underworld alone, he is courting death." Not long after, a group of ghost dragon leaders whizzed past. There were as many as 20 of them. Among them, there was a general wearing golden armor who was flying in the air. His armor was shining, and his face was filled with killing intent. He suddenly stopped in the air. The general looked disdainfully and asked indifferently, "Brats, did you see a god realm kid flying past here?" The ghost soldier leader hurriedly knelt down and said loudly, "Greetings, Lord Ghost Emperor. That kid just left here half an hour ago and flew towards the east." Lord Ghost Emperor smiled faintly. Men, come with me. Today, I will use this kid's head as a sacrifice to the hundreds of millions of souls who died in the underworld. Beside him, Dong Chao pouted angrily and said in a low voice, His Excellency, you're talking nonsense again. Shui Ba glared at him and signaled him to stop talking. The ghost dragon leaders followed Lord Ghost Emperor and flew into the distance. Below them was a dense army of ghost soldiers. Although these ghost soldiers could not fly, they could walk on mountains and rivers in the ghost underworld as if they were flat ground. Their speed was not much inferior to that of the ghost dragon leaders. Once this army caught up with them, Lin Muyu would probably be doomed. That kid is dead. The ghost soldier leader said proudly, Lord White Flame is personally chasing after him. Even if this kid has wings, he will not be able to fly out of Lord Ghost Emperor's palm. Just wait and see. The group of ghosts trembled with fear and did not dare to speak. After flying for nearly an hour, they still could not find Qin Yin. They could not even find a trace of Qin Yin's aura here. Not long after, Lin Muyu suddenly stopped flying. Her eyes were attracted by a broken bridge. Next to the broken bridge was Meng Pe, who was stomping her feet and cursing angrily. A group of ghost soldiers dared not say a word after being reprimanded. On the other side of the bridge were countless ghosts waiting to drink Meng Pe's soup. That is, Lin Muyu looked at a ditch in the river under the bridge. The mark was in the shape of a hexagon. That was the mark of the attack of the celestial dragon crystal. Qin Yin had appeared in this water. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu was ecstatic. He jumped down like a sharp arrow. The wind blew over Meng Pe and the other ghosts. At this moment, Lin Muyu almost completely ignored this group of people in the ghost underworld and flew along the water. The water was cold, but Lin Muyu could actually feel a trace of the aura of Qin Yin here. The grass by the river was also filled with spiritual fragments of the celestial dragon crystal. Yes, Qin Yin was here. He was excited and flew along the river. But at this moment, suddenly a tyrannical aura descended from the sky. It was a lord wearing golden armor, White Flame. Brat, do you still want to be so arrogant? White Flame roared, waved his palm, and a blood-red energy wall appeared in front of him. Lin Muyu was caught off guard and directly hit it. Bang! A strong rebound came from the energy wall, and unexpectedly, Lin Muyu was forced back. Although the energy wall dissipated at the same time, it was enough to prove the strength of this lord. His body spun rapidly and stopped on the water. Lin Muyu looked at White Flame and said, Who are you? White Flame sneered, I am the lord of this area. Or you are just a lower realm scattered god, but you can actually break the wall leading to the ghost underworld. You are really not simple. Brat, do you know what the consequences of trespassing in the ghost underworld are? What is it? You really dare to ask. White Flame looked up and laughed wildly. His eyes shot out endless killing intent and said, It is to be thrown into the soul refining pool. Your flesh, soul, and godhead will be refined together to create a delicious bowl of soul refining soup for the Ghost Emperor to enjoy. Get out of the way, I still have something to do. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the star sword. Her divine power surged, and a golden light enshrouded her body. White Flame couldn't help but shiver, but dozens of ghost dragon leaders surrounded him together, and thousands of ghost soldiers rushed over like a tide. He immediately felt confident and laughed. Even if you have something important to do, you have to wait. Brat, you trespassed into the ghost underworld. Don't think about getting out alive. Obediently surrender. Dream on. Lin Muyu's figure instantly left the place and turned into a bolt of lightning that bombarded White Flame Lord's body. The light of the stars soared into the sky. Impressively, a swift and violent 5 mountains heaven fell on White Flame Lord's body. Layers of divine waves turned into boundless destructive power that attacked the opponent. The power of the 20 heavenly caves was almost completely released in an instant. White Flame groaned miserably. Caught off guard, he was actually sent flying by Lin Muyu's sword and crashed into the river. He stood up awkwardly. The golden armor on his shoulder had been melted by the star power. He couldn't help but fly into a rage out of humiliation and said, "Bastard, how dare you hurt me? You're simply courting death. You seem to have forgotten whose territory this is." Lin Muyu didn't say anything. She just wanted to end the battle quickly. Without waiting for White Flame Lord's power to fully recover, her figure shot out like lightning. The light on the long sword was bright, and suddenly, she launched 3 fierce attacks. First appearance of the stars, 1 luminous chaos, 3 luminous calamity. The 3 fierce attacks greeted him together. Suddenly, White Flame Lord was seriously injured again, and his body floated away like a fallen leaf. White Flame didn't expect that Lin Muyu's attacks would be so continuous and so ruthless. And Lin Muyu didn't feel good either. After all, this was the ghost underworld. Everywhere was filled with the aura of death. The divine power in her body had begun to be somewhat unable to continue. Moreover, when White Flame's palm wind blew across her body, it caused the blood and qi in her body to become chaotic. It seemed that she had seriously injured White Flame, but in fact, she wasn't feeling good either. This guy hurt His Excellency. Go kill him. In the surroundings, a group of ghost dragon leaders waved their long whips and rushed over. Chapter 684. The rules of the ghost path were the same. The 3 ghost emperors were the supreme beings, and His Excellency was second. The consequence of offending the ghost emperors was naturally the worst in the ghost realm. In the face of the siege of a group of ghost soldiers, Lin Muyu calmly responded. The golden light of the supreme divine power on the stellar sword flowed slowly like a tide. With a sudden shake of his arm, he launched the raining sword with fire. The long sword turned into a spiral storm and killed the group of ghost soldiers. He waved his iron fists and shuttled through the crowd. Each punch was a fierce flame storm. After smashing dozens of ghost soldiers into pieces, he disappeared in the dark road of hell in the blink of an eye. No one knew where he had gone. Bai Yen held the melted armor on his shoulder and the charred flesh below, and said with resentment on his face, "Chase after him. No matter who this kid is, kill him on the spot. Ghost dragon leaders attack, spread the ghost sound net, and let this kid have nowhere to hide." "Yes, Your Excellency." A group of ghost dragon leaders grabbed the reins and urged the ghost dragon to rush into the sky. They pulled out the swords at their waists one by one, took out a shield from the back of the ghost dragon, and hit the shield with the scabbard of the long sword. Suddenly, a dense ear-piercing sound echoed in the air, like the cry of ghosts. Dozens of ghost dragon leaders launched the ghost sound net together, forming a large net that rippled in all directions. No one would have thought that there would be such a magical power in the ghost realm. In the night sky, the qi and blood in Lin Muyu's body were slightly surging. While forcibly suppressing the surging qi and blood with his divine power, he looked around with a face full of shame. The ghost realm was too big. Just the ground alone was already endless. It was difficult to find Qin Yin. His Excellency and ghost dragon leaders were aggressive. Even with at least 70% of his divine power, he was still in such a difficult situation. As a soul with only one breath, Qin Yin's situation must be even more bleak. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel anxious. He raised his strength and shouted at the sky, "Xiao Yin, where are you?" This shout didn't matter. As a god, his mental power was extremely penetrating. It directly formed a sound wave impact in the ghost realm, sweeping in all directions. Suddenly, the ghost soldiers, ghosts, and demons on the ground raised their heads and looked at the distant sky. No one knew whose voice it was, but they knew that someone was looking for a person named Xiao Yin. "He's there." In the distance, a group of ghost dragon leaders let out a sharp cry and urged the ghost dragon to fly over. So annoying. Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique sensed the rapid approach of the ghost dragon leaders, and it seemed that His Excellency White Flame had also come. Fighting one against many, he would be at a disadvantage after all. It was better to preserve his strength. With a flip, he turned into a sharp arrow and flew down from the sky. His figure disappeared into the grass that had been barren for tens of thousands of years. The ghost fire in the cave was faint, and the phosphorescence fluctuated up and down like floating lanterns. Fortunately, this cave was relatively dry, and there were no original residents, so it temporarily became a hiding place for Qin Yin to avoid the pursuit. Her face was very pale, and there was not much divine power left in the law of light in her body. If she encountered another 2 to 3 ghost dragon leaders, she would definitely be killed. Suddenly, an almost inaudible sound came from outside the cave, mixed with the sound of the wind. It seemed that someone was calling her. Although it was only a sound, it made Qin Yin tremble all over. That was Lin Muyu's voice. It must be him. For a moment, Qin Yin's heart was filled with mixed feelings, and her nose was sour. "Brother Yu is looking for me." She gently rubbed the ghost night grass on her face. She really didn't want Lin Muyu to see her in such a sorry state, but as a ghost cultivator, the ghost nightgrass was like maggots on a tarsal bone that couldn't be wiped off. The harder Qin Yin tried, the deeper the ghost nightgrass penetrated into her skin, until the crimson blood flowed down. Qin Yin couldn't help hugging her knees and crying, but the longing in her heart was uncontrollable like a raging tide. "No, even if I am like this, I must see him." Standing up, tidying up her white dress, Qin Yin flew out of the cave. But at the moment when she flew out of the cave, the voice of a ghost dragon leader sounded in the distant sky. "Qin Yin is there? The escaped ghost is there. Quick, inform the ghost soldiers to hunt Qin Yin." Tsk. The shrill cries of ghost soldiers came from all directions. These stooped ghost soldiers who emitted a rancid smell were the most common army in the ghost realm, but they were also very annoying, because there were too many of them. Damn it. Qin Yin's eyes turned cold. She identified the direction where Lin Muyu's voice came from and flew close to the ground. When thousands of ghost soldiers surrounded her, she had already launched her divine power. A celestial dragon crystal in her hand emitted a dazzling light and flew across the sky. With a poof, hundreds of ghost soldiers were smashed into pieces with just one blow. The power of the law of light was still so terrible after all. Moreover, the power of the people in the ghost realm was Yin, while Qin Yin's celestial dragon crystal was the essence of pure yang, which was refined from many blazing suns and stars in the universe. They were natural enemies. Even though most of Qin Yin's power was suppressed by the death qi in her body, she could still make the ghost soldiers suffer unbearably. Do you still want to resist? In the sky, the ghost dragon leader raised the whip with lightning flashing and lashed down, roaring, "As a ghost, why don't you surrender? Don't you want to be reincarnated?" Swish. The whip split the sky and fell like a sharp sword. Just as the whip was about to land on Qin Yin's back, she suddenly flipped over and clasped her palms together. The 2 celestial dragon crystals clamped down on the whip. The golden light shone on her delicate face, making her look extremely enchanting. However, at this moment, her beautiful face was filled with frost. "Don't go too far," she yelled. With a gentle wave of her arms, the invisible divine power formed a chain and directly dragged the leader of the ghost dragons down from the sky. Qin Yin's delicate body flipped over, and a snow-white long leg with a few exquisite celestial dragon crystals kicked the back of the leader of the ghost dragons. With a bang, the leader of the ghost dragons let out a muffled groan and fell into the wild grass together with the ghost dragons, looking extremely embarrassed. Phew! The group of ghost soldiers was stunned. Even the ghost dragon leader was almost killed by the little beauty in front of them. Wouldn't they, who were weak at fighting, be courting death if they went up? Soon, the group of ghost soldiers looked at each other, and no one was willing to go forward to fight with Qin Yin. This also surprised Qin Yin. She wondered why these ghost soldiers suddenly became so polite. Regardless, Qin Yin flew away and went straight in the direction where Lin Muyu's voice came from, but she didn't know that Lin Muyu had already left. The road to the underworld was vast, and countless ghosts were waiting for the next reincarnation, whether as humans, animals, birds, or never to be reincarnated. Under the ghost realm, there were 18 levels of purgatory, and countless ghosts were wailing in the bloody sea. Under the 18 levels of purgatory, there was a dead land with many gates in the ghost realm, including the soul refining pool, the hungry ghost cave, the netherworld spring, and the legendary Well of Reincarnation. That huge well led to the underworld, the heaven realm, and the immortal reincarnation. It was the only way for all reincarnated souls to pass through. However, new lives were constantly born in the three realms, so only a small number of ghosts who came to the ghost realm were lucky enough to enter the Well of Reincarnation and reincarnate. It was dark in the Well of Reincarnation. In the sky, the sound of the ghost dragon leader urging the ghost dragon could be heard. There were dozens of ghost dragon leaders in total, including an official in golden armor. They flew down solemnly and stood in front of a bronze gate in the Well of Reincarnation. The official walked forward respectfully, knocked on the door knocker, and said, "Your Majesty, something happened in the upper world." After a long time, there was no response. "What's going on?" The prefect whispered. The leader of the spectral dragons on the side whispered, "His Majesty the Ghost Emperor of the Five Directions has always been a lazy sleeper. The last time he slept for more than 400 years. He only woke up when the heavenly realm sent envoys. I wonder how long he'll sleep for this time. My lord, I think it's best if we don't disturb His Majesty the Ghost Emperor. Otherwise, we won't be able to afford to bear the consequences." "But," Abyssal Prefect furrowed his brows, "how can we allow a person with supreme godhead to invade hell and wreak havoc in our territory? Furthermore, that little girl, Qin Yin's soul still has a lot of divine power remaining. This matter should be reported to His Majesty the Ghost Emperor. If we don't, we'll really be neglecting our duty." "Then what should we do?" "Use the soul-destroying conch. If we don't use the soul-destroying conch, I'm afraid we can't wake His Majesty up." The spectral dragon leader took out a very strange-looking black conch, bent it like a bow, and blew into it. Suddenly, an extremely hoarse, ear-piercing sound of the conch echoed outside the bronze door. In the inner chamber of the Well of Reincarnation, 100-meter-long blood-red stone lay between heaven and earth. The stone was engraved with crimson runes. This was a soul-suppressing stone, a spiritual stone that could suppress any tyrannical ghost in the world. However, at this time, this incomparably precious soul-suppressing stone was actually used as a bed by a burly man, sleeping soundly on it. It was not until the sound of the soul-destroying conch came in that the burly man turned over, opened his arms and stretched himself. Scratching his chest, he said impatiently, "Which bastard has eaten the heart of a leopard and has the guts to disturb my afternoon nap? See if I don't beat your guts out." He opened his eyes, and a pair of blood-red pupils were like sharp swords, as if they could see the truth of everything in the world. The Ghost Emperor of the Five Directions, one of the three rulers of the Ghost Realm. He cultivated the law of darkness and possessed the godhead of the law of darkness. At this time, above the Ghost Realm, on the ground of the mortal world, a figure floated into the mass grave near Heaven Connect City. It was Tang Xiaoxi, wearing a red tight skirt. Streams of flame divine power lingered around her body. After landing, she took a step forward for dozens of meters, and looked around with vigilance. She felt the residual aura around her. Yes, Lin Muyu's last aura was here. Chapter 685. Tang Xiaoxi shouted, and the flame between her fingers was like a sharp sword, about to pierce through the wall of the plane. But at this moment, a very quiet female voice came from the forest. "The hour is over. The passage to the ghost domain has been misplaced. What you will pierce through will not be the door to the ghost domain, but the dark ghost wall. Are you sure you can pierce through the world's most and softest dark ghost wall?" It was Ziyao. She had not left at all. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned, the power between her fingers dissipated, and she murmured, "Sister Ziyao." I have to go," Ziyao smiled. "Silly Xiao Shi, what can you do even if you go? If even you can't see Xiao Yin, can you see her if you go?" "I have to apologize to Xiao Yin personally, otherwise." Tang Xiaoxi nodded, looked at the desolate bones on the ground and said calmly, "Otherwise, I will live in guilt forever, unable to live with myself." Ziyao walked forward, stroked Tang Xiaoxi's hair, and said with a smile, "It's okay, I will help you break through the dark ghost wall, but this favor is on you's account." Tang Xiaoxi was confused. Because he will definitely become a supreme god, and one day I will need his help. Creak! The bronze door slowly opened, and the sinister ghost body carved on the door was lifelike, as if it would jump out of the stone carvings at any time to devour everything. And at the moment the door opened, a chill spread out, and boundless dark powers swirled around. Inside the door, a strong man was tidying up the blood-red pearl on his crown, and asked lightly, "Who blew the soul-destroying conch?" The ghost dragon leader who blew the soul-destroying conch hurriedly knelt down, and said in a trembling voice, "It's me. Your Majesty, something happened in the upper realm, or else I wouldn't have disturbed you." "Don't say anything about the upper realm. Eat my slap first." The ghost emperor of the 5 directions suddenly raised his hand and slapped the ghost dragon leader across the air. The ghost dragon leader slammed into the wall of the well of reincarnation, and a few of his front teeth fell out. It was a tragic sight to behold. The group of ghost soldiers knelt down, trembling all over. Who would dare to provoke the 5 ghost emperors when they woke up? At this time, the ghost emperor of the 5 directions stretched his body and looked at his subordinates with his blood-red eyes. "Your Excellency, can we talk now? What is going on?" Lai Yuan said respectfully, "Your Majesty, recently, the ghost realm has taken in a possessor of an overgod divinity who has entered the ghost Dao through reincarnation." Overgod spark? The ghost emperors of the 5 directions frowned. The person with the overgod spark was killed? What a joke! The person with the overgod spark was killed. Tell me, who is it that disgraces the dignity of the overgod spark? It's the Empress of the Shattered Cauldron Realm. Her name is Qin Yin, and she has the overgod spark of the Law of Light. She didn't want to drink Granny Meng's soup, so she broke the bridge of helplessness. She's being chased by the Ghost Realm's army led by His Excellency White Flame. Should we go take a look, Your Majesty? Go take a look. The Ghost Emperor of the 5 directions couldn't help but laugh. He waved his hand, and blood-red darkness divine power enshrouded him. I'm not just going to take a look. Don't forget the laws of the Ghost Realm. Any ghosts that try to escape are to be killed on the spot. Come, let's go take a look at how capable this Qin Yin is. That's right, Your Majesty, there's one more thing. What is it? The Ghost Emperor of the 5 directions flew into the air. Another brat came from the Shattered Cauldron Realm in search of Qin Yin. He has the Sovereign Spark and can control the 12 elemental spirit beads. He injured and killed many of our ghost soldiers. What? The Ghost Emperor of the 5 directions couldn't help but sway in the air. Then he fell to the ground. He was sweating profusely. Apart from the Sovereign Spark, there's also the Sovereign Spark? What the hell? That brat with the Sovereign Spark is a living person? Yes, he is. Since he's a living person, it's none of my business. Let the Ghost Emperor of the East Unicorn be busy. Yes. In a corner of the Ghost Realm's surface, caves covered the edge of the Ghost Realm like beehives. These caves were called nests and were the habitat of many ghost soldiers. If there weren't so many nests, the Ghost Realm wouldn't be able to support the army of 10 million. In a nest close to the southeast, 2 old ghost soldiers were cooking a pot of meat soup. The Ghost Realm was filled with death energy, so it was extremely difficult to eat a piece of meat. There was only a fingernail-sized piece of meat floating in the pot of meat soup. It was obtained from a wild boar, and it was also a reward for the 2 old ghost soldiers for their loyalty. What do you think a woman tastes like? The old ghost soldier in tattered blue clothes asked. Woman? The ghost soldier wearing the red cloth used a branch to stir the meat and wild vegetables in the soup pot. He pondered and said, Actually, I'm not very clear. I only lived to the age of 11 before I drowned. How could I have tasted the taste of a woman? What about you? The ghost soldier in blue laughed at himself. I was killed by something called a painless abortion before I was even born. All these years, I only grew up in the Ghost Realm. His Majesty the Ghost Emperor had already set the law that people in the Ghost Realm are not allowed to be licentious. How would I know what a woman tastes like? Sigh. Say, if we have the chance to go to the mortal world and have a taste of a woman, how great would that be? Our deaths would be worth it. You're already dead, so why are you asking for it? Besides, look behind you. The thick dark ghost wall is our prison. Unless you can break through the dark ghost wall, you can only stay here for the rest of your life. Do you think the people in the mortal world can break through the dark ghost wall? Stop dreaming. Mortals don't have the power to break through the dark ghost wall. Even gods can't do it. How can mortals see you do it? Come, let's drink the soup. Don't think about women. Desire is the dark abyss. We are ambitious youths of the ghost realm. We must not fall into the abyss, brother. You're still the one who knows right from wrong. You're worthy of being a well-educated scholar. I seem to have told you that I was born as a cowherd. I even herded a water buffalo. Otherwise, how could I drown at the age of 11? Speaking of which, I still miss my water buffalo. Its name is Chui Hua. At this moment, a hole about the size of a fingertip appeared on the rock wall behind him. Dark forces were twisting inside the hole, instantly attracting the attention of the two old ghost soldiers. What is this? Someone is breaking through the dark ghost wall? My God, how is this possible? It must be the gods of the heavenly realm coming to punish us. Mother of God, what is this? After a violent explosion, the hole in the dark ghost wall grew larger and larger. With a poochie sound, a blood-red claw swept across and actually tore the hole to a size of nearly 1 meter. A ball of raging flames surged in, and the next moment, a girl wearing a red wraparound short skirt actually flew out of the dark ghost wall. Behind her was a net-like space weaved by dark energy. It was precisely this net-like energy that caused Tang Xiaoxi to spend a full 2 hours to find the exit. But who are you? The two old ghost soldiers took a few steps back. The god-level power overflowing from Tang Xiaoxi's body almost suffocated them. Tang Xiaoxi looked at them calmly and asked, "Is this the ghost realm?" "Yes, who are you?" "My name is Tang Xiaoxi." Tang Xiaoxi was very easygoing. She asked, "Are you ghosts?" "Yo, two ghost grandpas, may I ask if you know of a girl called Qin Yin who came to the ghost realm?" "Qin Yin? Are you talking about that damned little girl with the sovereign spark? She killed many of our brothers." "She's my sister." The two ghost soldiers kowtowed with pale faces. "I'm sorry, we didn't see her with our own eyes. We only heard about her." "Where is she?" Tang Xiaoxi's eyes lit up. "She was chased by the ghost realm army. I don't know where she escaped to. She was in the west." Tang Xiaoxi floated out of the nest and pointed into the distance. "Is it that direction?" Hee, thank you ghost grandpas." Tang Xiaoxi was about to fly away. "Excuse me, little girl, are you a woman?" The blue ghost soldier asked hurriedly. "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi hesitated for a moment, but still answered the question. "All right, I have something important to do. Goodbye." Tang Xiaoxi left at lightning speed and fell into the distance like a flaming meteor. The two ghost soldiers were so frightened by the godly state expert's aura that they felt weak all over. They knelt on the ground and said, "That's a woman. Her breasts are so big. My life was worth it. Heaven realm, heavenly lake." The rippling lake reflected everything that happened in the ghost realm. When Tang Xiaoxi appeared in the ghost realm wrapped in firefox flames, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor couldn't help but frown. "Demon Emperor, the ghost realm seems to be getting more and more chaotic," Sun Feng said respectfully. "Yes." The 7 Brilliance Demon Monarch said, "Tang Xiaoxi is going too. Sigh, Ziyao is too soft-hearted. Why must she send Tang Xiaoxi into the ghost realm too? I can't wait to see how it's going to end up. These guys are surely going to turn the ghost realm into a mess. If the 3 ghost monarchs come to ask for an explanation, they can just say that I'm in seclusion." Sun Feng frowned and said, "Then, is she in seclusion or not?" The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor raised his eyebrows. "You're so nosy." Sun Feng. At the side, a green-clothed female God Emperor level expert with a slender figure and a delicate face smiled gently and said, "Your Majesty, I can see that Lin Mu is already in such a realm at the 20th level of Grotto Heaven. If he were to break through to the 99th level of Grotto Heaven, He would be on par with your majesty with his 7 luminaries' unique skill. Is that so? The 7 luminaries demon emperor smiled faintly and said, Qing Ping, do you think 7 luminaries is my only trump card? Just wait and see, you'll soon be able to see my other peerless secret art. Your subordinate will wait and see. Qing Ping's gaze was gentle and she didn't seem to care at all. Chapter 686. The Crow County was a county city in the western part of the Seven Seas province. The Crow County city was not very big and could only accommodate 70 to 80,000 residents. Early in the morning, the county city was shrouded in mist, making it difficult for people to see things a few meters away. It had just rained in the winter, so the roads were wet and muddy. Passers-by were in a hurry, and the sound of their footsteps on the muddy water and the clanking of metal tools in the distance merged into one. The Harvest Smithy was one of the few smithy shops in the Crow County. The things they forged were nothing more than hoes, shovels, hunting knives, and other farming tools. Therefore, the name of the smithy was Harvest, implying that farmers could have a bountiful harvest and hunters could return with a bountiful harvest. In the smithy, an old blacksmith about 60 years old was smoking a pipe and taking puffs after puff. The wrinkles on his face overlapped like earthworms. His deep eyes were filled with helplessness and sighing as he looked at the young man who was hammering metal tools not far away. The young man was about 20 years old and was waving a heavy iron hammer with bare arms in the winter. Every strike was powerful, and those who were observant could see that his strong arms were surrounded by a thin layer of flame. At the same time, a small firefox martial spirit appeared on his shoulder, faintly discernible. Zong, is the hunting knife from the Liu family done? The old man asked loudly. It's almost done, Grandpa. Just give me another 30 minutes. Hurry, the Liu family will set off early in the morning. They need this knife. Yes, Grandpa. At this moment, the sound of hooves came from the mist. A group of people rushed through the mist and slowly rode their horses over. Among them, there were 2 people in luxurious armor, a man and a woman. The man had a calm gaze and the woman had a gentle expression. They both wore the emblem of the empire's purple yinhua on their shoulders, and it was a golden purple yinhua. It was obvious that they were nobles. Excuse me, is this Blacksmith Zhang's house? The female general asked softly. The old man immediately stood up and walked forward to bow respectfully. Sir, I am Blacksmith Zhang. What can I do for you? The female general hurriedly helped the old man up and smiled. Old man, you don't have to be so polite. I come from Lanyan City's Zetian Palace. My name is Suyu. Although the old man lived in the remote Crow County, he still knew the names of the 3 princes, 4 dukes, and 5 marquises. This beautiful middle-aged woman in front of him was the legendary Marquis Xining, Suyu. This commoner pays his respects to Marquis Xining. The old man hurriedly knelt down again. Suyu smiled faintly. Old man, you really don't have to bow. This person beside me is Prince Zhong, Qin Yan. Qin Yan. The old man was about to go into shock. So this youth was from the Qin family. Now, there were not many people who had the orthodox Qin family's bloodline. This youth looked peaceful and without any arrogance. He was actually one of the 3 kings, Qin Yan. Zong, silly boy, what are you still standing there for? Quickly kneel down and pay your respects to His Highness Prince Zhong. The old man loudly berated. The youth called Zong, hurriedly wiped his hands and kneeled in the mud. This commoner Zhang Zong pays his respects to His Highness Prince Zhong and Lord Marquis Xining. Qin Yan had already lifted Zhang Zong up through the air with a gentle force, saying, no need to stand on ceremony. The old man looked at the group of royal guards that Qin Yan and Suyu had brought and could not help but feel a little timid in his heart. He asked, Your Highness and the Marquis have come to find us? I wonder what's the matter. Elderly, you're scary. Suyu smiled warmly and said, We just want to know, Zhang Zong. Who is his father? Zhong's father. A venomous look flashed across the old man's eyes as he said, That heartless person never returned after staying at my house for a night. It was a pity that my daughter was always depressed after giving birth to Zong. She died of illness 3 years ago. Qin Yan was taken aback and said, "Elderly, is that heartless person a member of the Tang family?" "This." The old man hesitated for a moment. "Elderly, don't be afraid. We'll take care of everything for you. You just have to tell the truth," Su Yu consoled. The old man nodded, not concealing the disgust in his eyes in the slightest as he said, "Later on, I found out that that person was a member of the Seven Seas Tang sect. He was the Seven Seas King Tanglan's second son, Tang Jin. Humph. He died of illness 17 years ago. It's really retribution." Qin Yan said, "Elderly, are you really sure that person is Tang Jin?" "Absolutely. He left behind a piece of jade for my daughter. I took that jade to the Tang family's servants to see. It's precisely the Tang family's item. Where's the jade?" 10 years ago, during the chaos of Lanyan City, the nation of Iha attacked Zetian Hall. Seven Seas City conscripted soldiers and levied taxes without restraint. I sold the jade. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for us grandfather and grandson to continue living. "I see," Qin Yan muttered to himself. At this moment, a trace of panic flashed across the old man's eyes. He took a few steps back, hugged his grandson's arm, and said, "Your Highness Prince Zhong, I heard that the Tang family rebelled. Tang Lan committed suicide. The entire Seven Seas Tang sect has already fallen apart. You're not here to find trouble with Zhong, are you? He's still young and doesn't know anything. He's just a little blacksmith?" Qin Yan couldn't help but be taken aback. Beside him, Su Yu said with a serious expression, "Elderly, the Seven Seas Tang sect did not rebel. His Highness the Seven Seas King, Tanglan, even fought a bloody battle against the nation of Iha's rebel army in Hundred Ridge City. In the end, he died for his country. This time, we're here to search for the Tang family's bloodline. This Tang Zong possesses the Fire Fox martial spirit. He's undoubtedly a member of the Tang family." The old man was taken aback. "Lord Marquis, could it be that you're taking Zong away? He's this old man's only support?" Su giggled. "Don't worry, elderly. I've discussed it with His Highness Prince Zhong. We plan to have Tang Zong inherit the Seven Seas King Tanglan's former title and confer him the title of Duke of Zhenbei. If Tang Zong is the Duke of Zhenbei, and you're his grandfather, you'll naturally return to Seven Seas City to enjoy your life." This. The old man couldn't react for a moment. He didn't even know what Duke of Zhenbei meant. A duke meant that Tang Zong would become the ruler of the entire Seven Seas City. He'd stand on equal footing with Zheng Yifan and govern the enormous Seven Seas province. Then, the old man was taken aback for a moment. He hurriedly patted Tang Zong's shoulder and said, "Silly boy, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and pack up, then leave with His Highness. There's no need to pack." Qin Yan smiled slightly. "Elderly, Seven Seas City has everything. Don't worry. You can just board our carriage. We'll reach Seven Seas City in 3 days." "Thank you, Your Highness." Qin Yan took a deep look at Tang Zong and said, "Tang Zong, do you know your identity now?" Tang Zong lowered his head and was silent for a few seconds. He raised his head to look at Qin Yan's eyes and said, "Your Highness, I know. I'm Tang Jin's illegitimate son, the only bloodline of the Tang family." "No, you're wrong." There was some disappointment in Qin Yan's eyes as he said, "Your true identity is Tang Xiaoxi's younger cousin. If not for Tang Xiaoxi, the Tang family would have long been annihilated 6 years ago. You wouldn't have been spared either." As he spoke, Qin Yan fished out an imperial edict from his bosom and tossed it to him, saying, "Look carefully. This is the imperial edict conferring you the title of Duke of Zhenbei. It was personally written by Empress Qin Yin 6 years ago." "Her Highness Qin Yin?" Tang Zong was stunned for a moment. Ever since he found out about his identity, he kept on understanding the upper echelons of the empire. Naturally, he knew the stakes of Qin Yin's handwritten edict. In that case, could it be that Qin Yin already knew of his existence 6 years ago? "Let's go." Qin Yin seemed to be somewhat tired. His brows were tightly knit as he pulled on the reins and turned around, walking shoulder to shoulder with Su Yu. Meanwhile, Tang Zong and his grandfather boarded the carriage of Zetian Palace. In the dense fog, the Crow region became increasingly peaceful. There was only the sound of hooves and the clashing of swords and armor. Qin Yen and Su Yu walked at the front of the crowd, entering the dense fog outside the city. "Ah Yen." Su Er's delicate brows furrowed slightly as she said, "Will the world know of Xiao Yin's painstaking efforts back then? I don't know if the world will understand, but I do." Qin Yen clenched his fists, a cold light shooting out of his eyes as he said, "Tang Lan and Tang Lu colluded with the demon race and gathered an army of 300,000 with the intention of taking advantage of the situation to invade and occupy Lanyan City. This crime is enough for them to die 10,000 times. However, Cousin did not use weapons or poison Tang Lan to death because she did not want the Tang family to carry an irrecoverable crime of treason. Cousin is grateful for Tang Xiaoxi's kindness, but in the end, in exchange for such an outcome, will you blame Xiaoxi?" Surest. Qin Yan's gaze was deep. "Xiaoxi has sacrificed so much for the empire. She is so loyal and true. Who can blame her?" Su Er said, "Yes, no one is wrong." "Then who is wrong? Is the world in the wrong?" Qin Yen laughed bitterly. "What is wrong is the choice. Princess, she could only choose between Cousin and Tang Lan. Tang Lan rebelled with the intention of mobilizing troops and causing trouble. Cousin had no choice. If Tang Lan was spared, millions of innocent civilians would die. She could only use Tang Lan's life to exchange for the lives of millions of civilians. Xiaoxi similarly had no choice. She is a member of the Tang family and has already done everything she can for Cousin. It's just that I don't understand why she must kill Cousin. It's not that Xiaoxi doesn't understand the Tang family's rebellious intentions. Perhaps there are other reasons." Su Er let out a sigh of relief and said, "All right and wrong will come to light one day. Xiaoxi has protected Lanyan City many times because of her sisterhood towards Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin has painstakingly done so much because she does not want to let down the world and Xiaoxi. This is the only path she can choose. As long as the two of them still have this friendship, there will come a day when the clouds clear and the sun rises. Let's hope so." Qin Yen held onto the reins and suddenly shivered. He tugged at his furry cloak and said, "This year's winter is really unusually cold. Seems like it's going to be another cold winter. The documents from the various regions should be sent out as well. Every half a month, the granaries will be opened to help the commoners. We must get someone to supervise this." Got it. I'll do it personally. Thank you, Aunt Air." Qin Yen puffed on his palm, lifted his head, and looked at the sky, saying, "The world is cold. I wonder how eldest brother and Prince Xian are doing." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.